Good evening, everyone. Welcome to America's Third Party. I'm David Sponheim. Right on. We're here. We're on 4 networks. We're on Twitch, Periscope, Vaughn, and iVlog. And now I'm opening up my YouTube show to see if anyone wants to talk. So let me go there and pick up that now. Welcome, everyone. This YouTube show is kind of a new phenomenon in that I was pretty much banned from doing it for about 5 years, and it was because we were gang stalked by people that want to stop this third party from forming. But here we are, as usual, every single day. We will do this regardless of what happens on YouTube. We're hoping that we can retain this strong presence, but all we can do is keep moving forward. We will do this regardless of what happens on YouTube. And all we can do is keep moving forward. Okay, so I'm going to take that and put it here. Say hi. And for some reason, we haven't really had anybody come into our show. Now, it could be because I'm shadow banned at YouTube. I don't know. It's a possibility. Either way, we'll find out where we're at as time goes on. Okay, we've been talking about the influence of Zionism over America and how Donald Trump is a shill for the Zionist elite, and they pretty much control him. Now the impeachment case against him is pretty much watered down. Pelosi kind of pulled the plug on any real strong charges. They've got these 2 weak charges, in my opinion, and it's going to be passing through the House. If they pass it, it then goes to the Senate. But there's a lot of misgivings about this, that some people think that they don't even like it. It doesn't have enough in it. And I believe they could have 2 more articles of impeachment to include Russian collusion and cheating during the election, if not 3 more. So you people think that you're getting money to attack us in the show. Your money will bounce back as karmic hell. You'll be going into a karmic spin down in your life eventually, and you won't know why. You see, everybody who's trying to stop the good efforts that we're putting forth by paying people off, giving people money to troll us and to spam us and to DOS us and to, whatever, we've been swatted. You people are actually marking up your credits of negative karma, and it will eventually come back to haunt you. And you'll remember this time of me telling you someday. And you'll wonder why your life turned into a hellhole. Just remember these words. You are screwing with the pure good that America stands for. You are messing with the future of this country. By doing what you're doing, you're actually serving dark forces. All right, so let's get to the story that really kind of shocked me early today. Yeah, we'll start with this one, and then we'll go into a whole bunch more. Even a touchdown on transgenderism. By the way, this is a chemtrail behind me. It's not a contrail. This is a willful attempt to poison the atmosphere by our government, allowing chemicals like this to be dumped in the skies on a daily basis, if you're wondering what that picture is. Check this out. Daily Beast has a story, but Russia's TV calls Trump their agent. I'm not kidding. And they're talking about this meeting with Lavrov that Trump had. And we know that Trump met with 2 Russian diplomats the day he fired Comey, secretly met with them with a secret SAS press agency doing videotape. We still don't have a video of it. So all of this, and the Russians are bragging about how they control Trump as an agent. They're calling him, in this Russian segment on their TV channel, the puppet master and the agent. How to understand Lavrov's meeting with Trump. And Trump clearly is the agent, and the puppet master is Lavrov, the guy that set up 3 meetings with Kim Jong-un. Our team just went over there, and Pompeo just took orders from Russia. Lavrov set those meetings up, and they didn't accomplish anything, did they? Case in point. They don't intend upon getting rid of Kim Jong-un's weapons. The Russians are running the Donald Trump administration. Essentially, Russia's state television uses every opportunity to demoralize the Ukrainians with talking points based on Trump's distaste for their beleaguered country. So anytime Trump negatively talks about Ukraine, Russia uses that as a talking point because they're still at war with Ukraine. Putin has expressed undisguised delight with a crusade led by Trump and Giuliani to whitewash Moscow's interference in U.S. elections. Trump never, ever even acknowledged what the State Department knows is a fact. They cheated to get Donald Trump as president. And Trump even knew that before the election. And because he didn't say it, he cheated too. So we definitely think cheating should be part of the impeachment, but it's not. And we definitely think Russian collusion should be part of the impeachment, but ironically it's not. So what in the heck is Nancy Pelosi doing? Well, we've established that pretty much everything she's doing is for the Zionist elite who control our country. And these Zionist elite are running Pelosi and everyone else. Christian Zionists celebrate another victory under Trump, reversal on the settlements policy. We're getting dropouts at YouTube right now. If we are being DDoS, it's because they don't want you to hear this. But Donald Trump is so happy about this reversal on the settlements policy, encouraging Jerusalem to continue in settlements with no acknowledgement of any land holdings that the Palestinians may have had. We're still seeing this Zionist policy play out every day. Okay. We're going to touch down on Rudy Giuliani now. That came from one of our supporters over at iVlog. This link came called the Red Pilled News. Rudy Giuliani has a new evidence about Biden's crime. The Ukrainian prosecutor was poisoned, and Biden's were involved in money laundering. This is a new allegation coming out of Rudy Giuliani. I'm not shutting down the Republican dialogue about how corrupt Joe Biden is. I think that's a good thing. We need to find out how corrupt Joe Biden is. If this gets us to that,
and we follow the same path they did, I assure you we will come to a point where the government asserts the right to seize your assets because they think you are unfit to control your own finances. That's literally what they're asking for the right to do.
Okay, this is an autoplay. We're going to be talking about this guy's show later tonight at 10 o'clock. We're going to be touching down on organ harvesting, the homeless, and seizing assets. There's a big heads up going on. Homeless people are being hauled out of cities. Now Trump is talking about going with the federal dollars and coming into LA and trying to get rid of the homeless problem. This is happening right under our nose. The New World Order play to control innocent people who've been down and out on their luck and now stuck in some tent in Los Angeles. All of that could very well play out. So we'll play that tonight. I just didn't want to interrupt the show with that. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on with this story. And Jerome Corsi has another supportive argument saying Soros and the Bidens are globalist puppet masters behind Ukraine. This is the Republican spin on the whole thing. I'm not going to dispute the Republicans' right to expose the corruption in the Bidens or in George Soros, but let's not forget, Corsi is completely ignoring the fact that Donald Trump supports George Soros and has received $160 million in loan money from George Soros. Donald Trump does not condemn George Soros. So I argue that both parties are corrupted by these people. That's my argument, and I think we can carry that forward. Okay, let's talk to the chat rooms. You guys are coming in talking about organ harvesting. Oh, yeah, no, we don't want to have our organs harvested. And the Democrats have this other agenda they're pushing people into, which is the transgender agenda. And as you know, I'm not a supporter of lesbian, gay, bi, transgender special laws. But this story came up tonight. Little Orphan Tranny and the winemakers serve unorthodox holiday cheer. I'm not sure what this is, actually. Curtain rises on gold dust orphans. The disembodied voice of somebody comes up. Juvenile, nonsensical filth. Exclusive. Okay, this is just another layer of BS coming at me here. I just want to go through these stories. Hallmark Channel's same-sex ad controversy hints at broader diversity issues. So now the Hallmark Channel is pushing same-sex and transgender and diversity issues. But they've got a recent controversy over pulling ads featuring same-sex couples following earlier criticism the channel's programming lacks diversity. Oh, okay. So now they're really concerned they're now going to be more diverse. They're going to have more same-sex and transgender stories. What the family-oriented audience really wants is a really nice transgender story about oh my goodness. Can you believe this incredibly immoral pathway our country's on under the Democrats? So I'm trying to appeal to people on the right, too, who are concerned about the transgender issues. But I'm not in any way in favor of discrimination against transgenders, gays, bis at a federal level. But whatever happens in the community that you're living in, I can't control that. Yeah, they keep pushing their transgender agenda, and this is actually an agenda to depopulate. The best guess I have is that they don't want us to have sex with opposite, which could lead to a baby. They really would rather have people just having same-sex relationships so that no babies are born and they can continue with their depopulation plan. It's a transgender depopulation agenda. Hey, here's Mr. Bobblehead Rudy 2019. There he is. It's too bad we can't animate that. That's cute. But Donald Trump continues to stand for Rudy Giuliani, even though he puts his foot in his mouth all the time. And we found out last week that Rudy Giuliani openly said, that Trump asked him what he got when he came back from Kiev, when Giuliani was over there trying to get a quid pro quo. Clearly, Trump said, "What'd you get?" Like he wanted a favor. But then he said, "No quid pro quo." Yeah, right, sure. That's quid pro quo, Donald. No matter what you do. Once you ask for that favor, according to Judge Napolitano of Fox News, when you asked for that favor, you committed quid pro quo, which is an impeachable offense, using our federal tax dollars, going into money to donate to the Ukrainians. Okay. We'll talk about laser weapons tonight. This picture came in from Max. Shows you the potential of our country having laser weapons. Scary stuff. Not something I want to, ignore. Lockheed Martin has a plan to get laser weapons out there by 2026. Experts details a laser weapon program. So they want these laser weapons, and then we've got weird stories coming out of Fox that they've already used these weapons on people. This story played just recently on Fox. I'll just give you the teaser to it. I played it last week, but man, shocking stuff.
Lasers sound like the stuff of science fiction, right? Sound completely unbelievable. How could our military possibly be using those in future warfare? Guess what? We've just had a recent breakthrough, more great test results that are making lasers a reality. So it's called Athena. Lockheed Martin makes it, and they've been doing a lot of the pioneering in this laser field. Now, what's really exciting about it is that it's so hard to harness that much power and make it compact enough that's actually going to make practical sense downrange. And they've proven that they can do that. Recently, they tested it against 5 moving drones, so realistic drones that they might go up against with, enemy forces might send against us, for example, or terrorists might send against us. And it successfully shot down all 5 of the drones. This is huge news because
now she's showing pictures of all the burned out houses. It's like, I don't get that. All these houses that were burnt out in the fires in California are now completely hollowed out, and you're wondering, well, why did they? I mean, when you look at all these areas that were impacted over the past 3 years, the Tubbs fire, the Nuns fire, the Sonoma County fires, you're looking at Paradise Fire, the Woolsey Fire, the Malibu Fire. We're talking about over 300 people died in the past 3 years. Maybe way more than 300 people. We don't even know. I think I was hit with a laser right here. You see the little mark there? Anyway, I'm kidding. The possibility that these lasers burn these people to death was just exposed in the Fox News show. It's like, how could this possibly be true? How could our government be killing people in their homes? Well, they can, and they can do whatever they want because our government doesn't even want to catch one arsonist. Not one person's being DDoSed right now. Yeah, they're trying to shut down our show right now. DDoS is underway, everyone. If I shut down completely, tell me no video in the chat, please. And I'll be back up and running. I'll have to switch my VPN. But I'm talking about some tough subjects. How come not one arsonist has been arrested? Not one. So somebody set fire to 300 fires in about a 24-hour period in California recently. And then a year earlier, same thing. And the year earlier than that, same thing. So all these burned out homes and all these areas that are potentially, going to be land acquisitions for pennies on the dollar, all taken out with laser beams? Yet our government's not doing anything to stop that? You see how completely useless the two-party system has become? Yeah. Then I found out earlier from inventor Jim Genius, he said, a lot of the stuff that they're dropping in the air is an inflammatory incendiary device. That they're putting all this stuff in the air, chemtrails, is barium and aluminum, because they want it to burn faster. It's like an accelerant. So when you saw the fires happen in the Woolsey fire, and this person that I showed you, I'm going to show that video later tonight, it was going on to talk about how these all these fires were preceded by blue lightning bolts from the sky, igniting this flame accelerant like barium and aluminum.
While 7 fire trucks sat completely still for over 30 minutes until everything around us caught on fire.
Wow.
Those trucks were among the last to drive out, and they never lifted a finger to fight any fire.
This is the kind of testimony that you're only going to get on this show or on 153news.net. If you want to watch this show in advance, I'll give you the link. It's coming at you from the alternative network to YouTube. 153news.net, it shows you ways in which you can actually look at this event from a different perspective. Okay, Trump finally admitted that Russia got him elected? Really? That's an impeachable offense in and of itself. Huh. I had nothing to do with Russia helping me to get elected, the president tweeted. Okay. Boy, those are really small hands. He's finally admitted that he may have known more than 2 years Russia helped him elect him as president. Wow. In a tweet storm pushing back against the conclusions of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation, no collusion with Russia, which in my opinion wasn't the conclusion. That was William Barr's characterization of the conclusion. But maybe obstruction of justice, Trump either purposely or accidentally referred to Moscow's preference for him in the 2016 election. Russia, 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 that's all you heard at the beginning of this witch hunt hoax, Trump tweeted on Thursday morning. And now Russia has disappeared because I had nothing to do with Russia helping me to get elected. It was a crime that didn't exist. The key part there, just for emphasis, was I had nothing to do with Russia helping me to get elected. In other words, the Kremlin tried to help me win, but I didn't coordinate with them, is what he's saying. Just an hour later, though, he told reporters that Russia didn't have anything to do with helping him win, contradicting his own tweet. I got me elected. Russia didn't help me at all, President says. And he flatly denies a tweet he posted just an hour earlier, now claiming that Russia did not help get elected. So he's flip-flopping on this all over the place. It is good stuff. Thank you, And Lover. He's flip-flopping left and right, people. He's obviously working for Russia. You Republicans better get with the program if you want to protect our country. I'll take Pence over this guy.
No, Russia did not help me get elected. You know who got me elected? You know who got me elected? I got me elected. Russia didn't help me at all. Russia, if anything, I think helped the other side. What you ought to ask is this. Do you think the media helped Hillary Clinton get elected? She didn't make it. But you take a look at collusion between Hillary Clinton and the media. You take a look at collusion between...
It's queuing up again. Okay, I've got a couple more stories to get to.
Hillary Clinton and Russia. She had more to do in the campaign with Russia than I did. I had nothing to do. And by the way, that's one other thing. If you look, this was all about Russia, Russia, Russia. They don't talk about Russia anymore because it turned out to be a hoax. It was all a hoax. And then they say, gee, he fought back. Isn't that terrible? He fought back. Of course I fight back. Because it was a false accusation. A totally false accusation. And it's a disgrace. And it's a very sad period for this country. And I think in the end, I will consider what's happening now to be one of my greatest achievements, exposing this corruption.
I don't think so. In fact, the State Department has confirmed on all levels that Donald Trump got assistance from Russia to win. That Donald Trump knew in advance that he was going to get this help as much as 2 years earlier and didn't even bother to report it. And when asked, would you use dirt against your opponents from foreign sources again, he said, sure, I'd gladly do that. He would use dirt from foreign sources to win yet again. So this guy's willing to do whatever it takes and let Russia control him. Now, the Supreme Court won't hear a case on banning against homeless sleeping in public places. They're not going to even hear the case banning it, so people can continue to be banned from homeless places. Wow. From public places. The Supreme Court on Monday declined to hear an appeal in a case originating from Boise, Idaho that would have been made it a crime to camp and sleep in public places. The decision to let a ruling from the Ninth District Court of Appeals or Circuit Court of Appeals stand is a setback for states and local governments in much of the West that are grappling with widespread homelessness by designing laws to regulate makeshift encampments on sidewalks and parks. Okay. So the Circuit Court of Appeals already said that you can't ban people from sleeping in public places. So that's a good thing. This is actually a win for homeless people. All right, good to know. And a German railway claims that Greta Thunberg lied about taking a first-class trip. Yep, Greta Thunberg lied about it. Yeah. Greta claims, here she is. After Greta Thunberg's posted an image of herself sitting on the floor of an overcrowded train, the German railway company initially responded with a pledge to continue improving service. We wish Greta a good drive home and continue. Hours later, the company implied Thunberg's crowded train story was full of hot air. Okay. Thunberg tweeted this back in defense. Our train for Basel was taken out of traffic, so we sat on the floor on 2 different trains after it got a seat. There was no problem. Of course, I never said it was. Overcrowded trains is a great sign because it means the demand for train travel is high. But it's not. It was BS. The German railway company has taken back an apology that they made to Greta after they realized the climate activist wasn't schlepping it on the train's floor, but instead was treated friendly in first class. So she outright lied. Can you believe that? Yeah, Jiffy, don't come in here. We don't allow people to come in here and try to spam our show by delivering some nice message and then turn around and spam it. We know that you're trying to troll our show. There's no way you get around it. You're not a new person coming in here. Unless, of course, you're a nude person in the nude. A Russian propaganda outlet Sputnik mocks U.S. tranny troops. Okay. There we have it. Russian propaganda outlet Sputnik mocks U.S. tranny troops. Here Russia continues to ramp up the rhetoric that Trump is just, he's a joke. He's a laughingstock. The U.S. is set to start accepting transgender recruits into the armed forces this week after Trump administration lost a court battle over the issue. Really? Okay, so I didn't even know they lost the court battle. I figured they'd be going to court over this issue. The Trump administration had sought to block Obama-era guidance welcoming Trump transgender troops from coming onto the force, but courts prevented officials from pushing back a January 1st implementation deadline. And then state-controlled Russian media outlet Sputnik said tranny troops, jumped on it. Tranny troops, U.S. military to accept transgender recruits beginning 2018. Following a capitulation by administration of U.S. President Donald Trump to a federal court ruling overturning a Trump attempt to ban transgender U.S. military recruits, American soldiers will now comprise a much wider spectrum of humanity. They just love making fun of our country. Okay, well, I guess we got trannies back in the military. Well, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Did I say tranny? I meant transgender, sorry. Yeah, I come from the old school when people actually use the word tranny in reference to transgender, it's considered improper now. I met transgenders that called themselves trannies back in the 80s, so it's kind of hard for me to readjust my lingo to be much more sensitive to their needs. But, some people say, Dave, you'd make an excellent transgender. I don't really want to be a transgender. I'm not really here to push this idea on other people, too. But there are people, women, that look like me. Yeah, I will admit that. Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones, for one. I met transgenders in the 1930s, yeah. I said 1980s, excuse me. Big difference between the 1930s and 1980s. Yeah, much different time. But yes, I met transgenders in Hollywood during that time period. And I suppose I could look like Brienne with the right type of makeup, But I'm not Brienne of Tarth. I know what you're thinking. David, you look just like her. Well, I'm not her. I just simply am not. Lord Fifth of the Fourth. Pretty funny. Okay, moving on. No homo there. It's better they're allowed to be out because they could be blackmailed about it. They could compromise their clearance. I agree. I totally agree. And I've taken that position ever since I decided that, the don't ask, don't tell policy was pretty much history. And now we accept homosexuals, and of course transgenders would qualify. The thing I'm a little concerned about is the dress code, the dress code in the military. If they're allowed to wear high heels in battle, I'm thinking their pumps might be a little bit more of an obstacle, and we shouldn't really be that concerned about the pumps. Those 6-foot stiletto heels really don't work in battle type situations. The skirts might work though, yeah. And I don't want, I'm even willing to compromise and say that some battalions could be built the way that the commanding officer wants. We'll have all heterosexuals on this side and all homosexuals and transgenders on this side. Now, our drill sergeants are going to ask all of you to participate in this war. But we're not going to require you to necessarily have a position bending over in the front line. That's one area we believe that it would be better if we had a heterosexual force, because it could be a little bit disturbing to the heterosexuals watching all you gays bend over in the front line. So you'll be bringing up the rear. That's right. And many of you will be on desk duty, or maybe you'll be doing design work inside of some of the buildings. A lot of furnishings and fashion designs need to be developed that could be very gay. But the idea of military everyone should participate in our war, whatever war we choose to have. Are we having a war? Thank you for that Flipboard link, by the way. Best link in the world, gives you access to information all over the globe. Yeah, we have a really good Flipboard magazine collection of about 30 magazines. I've got an Epstein magazine there that's cutting edge. If you want any information on Epstein, just go to the Epstein magazine. And we do the cooking show on Thursday, that's right. Now, we've talked about tranny troops, Russians making fun of our transgender troops. We talked about the president working as a puppet for Vladimir Putin. Everything he does seems to be working for Putin. And we know from this story that Christian Zionists are celebrating yet another victory under Trump over reversal of the settlements policy in Israel. So these people are puppets of the Zionist elites, who also are part of the Russian Orthodox Zionists, the oligarchs. The oligarchs, by the way, in Russia are all Zionists. In America, AIPAC is all Zionist. Even Christians can call themselves Zionist. But remember, Hitler was a Zionist too. Don't forget that. Just like Biden, just like Trump, just like Pelosi, those are all Zionists. So if you look at the real trend of America, we've been doing whatever the Zionists tell us to do. And early in the show, I talked about the possibility that these people were pushing a really bizarre agenda when they may have been at the 9/11 attack. Some people are thinking, wow, why were there so many people at the 9/11 attack during that time period? And it's because they were actually there. The Mossad had representatives watching the 9/11 attack happen as it happened. We're talking nearly 20 years ago now. And notice how we're still in two wars that defend Israel. We're being DDoSed again. Yeah. Coffee choice is organic Ethiopian. Yuri bean. Yes, it's washed especially. I have this a bunch of Yuri bean Ethiopian, the very first coffee bean ever developed. I have that right now. And I'm drinking a slightly, well, it's kind of a hazelnut, cinnamon, non-dairy soy creamer. It's not soy, excuse me, it's almond creamer. They're making all these new coconut creamers and almond creamers for your coffee. If you're gluten intolerant, or excuse me, lactose intolerant. I'm not lactose intolerant. I just happen to like the taste of this. Ghost is pretty much, he comes under the heading of final. That'll be his name. You'll see it in his name. He comes in here on occasion. So the military is setting up plans for large-scale 5G testings. Yeah. You thought he was a girl? You think you had a transgender deliver your pizza and you thought he was a girl? Could be. Could be, yeah. I wouldn't doubt it. You know, I'm accepting of transgenders. I don't want to judge them for who they are or what they are as any different than human beings. I just don't encourage the LGBTQ movement like the Democrats do. And I think a lot of centrists have this same feeling. We don't want people to be openly discriminated in business or actually in government offices. But I don't want to impose laws on mom and pop businesses that force them to have quotas of homosexuals or lesbians or gay, bi, transgender. I won't. I won't change anything. It's all just perfect. So I'm right in the middle on this subject. But you can drift to the left or the right. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. But my position is I'm a centrist on this issue. Oh, hi, Sarah. Hello.
Hello.
So we got some more room in here.
Okay, cool.
Military setting up plans for large-scale 5G network experiments. 5G is seen as a revolutionary technology for a broad range of capabilities such as improved information gathering and more computing power at the edge. So now they're integrating all of this into the U.S. Department of Defense efforts. They're going to use test facility sites. And, you know, some people say that this could be used for autonomous vehicles. That's one possible use of the 5G network. It's 20 times faster than the 4G network. And most people don't care about anything faster than the 4G network. Most people are watching 4K TV on their cell phones with the 4G network, and there's no big deal. It's not a big problem. But for some reason, our government's moving forward with 5G at a rapid pace, and there's no long-term studies that show it's safe. None. Zero. In fact, quite the opposite. There's some studies done in Europe and India that contest that it's not only super dangerous, it could lead to our extinction of our species, that it has long-term reproductive effects on our genetic material. That's kind of wild to think that.
I don't know if Freddie the Fly is still in the room, but he said many of the hardest decisions in the White House won't be consensus decisions. What will inform your decision making?
You know, I want to actually have almost a daily discussion in our show. We want to keep a 24/7 chat room available for people. I'll have 4 or 5 operators running through C-SPAN, a daily chat show, and we'll be generating polls from your views. And the polls will be voted on by people in America. And we'll try to limit people who come into that chat room, just Americans, preferably. But we're going to take those polls and use that as the data that we'll talk about every day in a daily chat show, 1 hour, where we'll discuss the top polls of the day and get the feel for what the people want. And I think that's the first layer of what we're going to do to get your shared information out there. The next layer will be opening the door to both the left and the right. Both parties can come in and talk about the issues openly. And we'll have a round robin discussion during, maybe even during the show. We'll have representatives from the Republican and Democratic Party come in, and we'll have a discussion in front of the show, in front of an audience. That would be good too. Hashing out compromise. That's what we want to do. This world has been so polarized and factionalized by this left versus right paradigm that we absolutely need to keep this dialogue rolling and give everybody a chance to speak out. Now, we're not going to include extreme right-wing positions like the Nazis in our discussions, and we're not going to include extreme left-wing positions like Antifa and that group who want to revolutionize and take away the rights of individuals. Anyone who stands against the core elements of our Constitution and Bill of Rights will not be invited to the discussion. So anyone who's anti-Constitution or anti-Bill of Rights, and even the Democrats would fall into this category because they keep pushing gun control, which is clearly against the Second Amendment. I will not have a discussion of gun control during my presidency. There's no way we're going to sidetrack on that issue because it's so divisive and it's so much a problem for people on the right to even begin to think that we're going to go down that road. We're not. I'm going to take that off the table. We won't be talking about pro-choice versus pro-life discussions. That's not something I want to take on during my presidency. I think let the courts decide this, but I'm not like Mike Pence. I don't have an agenda there. Okay, Sarah's going to take over. Let me change the background for you first. I'm going to get a little different background here. Oh, yes. Let's see what we have here. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I got rid of a lot of my backgrounds. Let's just go to scene 5.
I like this background.
Oh, that is a good background.
You're listening to Virtual
Interactive chat. Okay, I'm going to go
I don't
back.
mind just the plain black background.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I just want to get something with... Yeah, I don't really have anything here. You know, when I moved over all our hard drive information, I didn't grab a new background for our show. I should have. Let's do that right now. Okay. Okay.
All right. That's okay. What was the worst sweater at the party? They did vote for, I don't think there were, I liked them all, but there was a Grinch one. There was, one was this lady she had a brown shirt on and she did like tinsel across from her arms to her arms and then little mini stockings. Like it was
She glued it in.
created sweater. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
And another kid, he got like these duck ornaments and he somehow Velcroed them onto his shirt.
Oh, okay.
Velcro and other odd ornaments, stuffed ornaments. It was pretty interesting. One had one that like was a garland and then it lit up. Self-appointed ambassador for wrong men of Me Too faces criminal allegations. Yeah, that's quite a big thing to take on. The Me Too movement. Oh, Alki David's in trouble again? Oh, interesting, Anthony. All right. Well, hello, Howie. How are you? Yes, one or two LED sweaters. Yeah. Yeah, it was a cute party. There's lots of food, and they did the gift exchange thing. A white elephant, and I guess I didn't know exactly how a white elephant worked, but I did okay. Yeah, sometimes it's like that, Hallie, being tolerable. I was just reading this article on Medium. I stole someone else's gift, so I ended up with what I wanted, which was a Mr. Rogers mug that he was wearing a jacket, and then when you pour hot water in him, it changes, so then it looks like he's wearing a sweater. I haven't tried it out yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. I love Mr. Rogers. Well, not like attracted to him in that kind of way. It's in the other room. The mug. I know it will be fun to try it out for sure. I know you want to see it. You'll just have to wait. Maybe at Christmas. You know, I just ruined one Christmas present. No, I did not get it by error. I got it on purpose because the girl in front of me got it as her gift, and then I took it from her because that's how the way a white elephant can work. I am not wearing Santa's slippers. No. I'm wearing just boots. These boots were made for walking. Anyway. I know. Tough beans. Sorry. $58 million in damages? I don't know if I trust Cron.com though, Anthony. They have Bob Ross coffee mugs that change. That's cute. I should get one for my friend is a big Bob Ross fan. When that song about Mr. Rogers song came out, the Mr. Rogers Me remixed, and then the anyway, and then Bob Ross had a remixed one, and then I showed it to my friend. He really enjoyed that. Yeah. Good evening, Mad Dog. 5 to 8 million rather than 58 million. On PBS, there was a barbecue guy. He cooks 500 pounds of meat for 5 hours. Wow. You dropped some frames over at Twitch. Oh no. Yikes. Oops. I don't know what I did. I clicked the prime loop button and I don't know what that did. But, okay. Unrealistic to cook that much meat. Then what do you do with it? Is he turning it into jerky or something? Oh, yeah. I don't think people should think that if they have money, they can do whatever they want. That's not a good thought process. No, it does not, Mad Dog. The Supreme Court ruling pulls the rug out from articles of impeachment? What? According to The Hill? And Boeing is going to halt the 737 MAX production in January. I don't want Santa slippers, thank you. At night you watch cooking shows with all the fancy Christmas cakes and treats, but you can only watch them. You can only eat them with your eyes, not with your mouth. Alan Dershowitz, opinion contributor. The decision by the Supreme Court to review the lower court's rulings
The Supreme Court on Friday agreed
involving congressional and prosecution subpoenas directed toward President Trump undercuts the second article of impeachment that passed the House Judiciary Committee along party lines last week. A second article of impeachment charges Trump with obstruction of Congress for refusing to comply with congressional subpoenas in the absence of a final court order. And so charging him, the House Judiciary Committee has arrogated to itself the power to decide the validity of its subpoenas, as well as the power to determine whether claims of execution privilege must be recognized. Both powers that properly belong with the judicial branch of our government, not the legislative branch. Wow. Master Meatball thinks the Democrats are going to regret the impeachment at the ballot box. Do you think everybody's going to vote for Republicans? Or you think Trump's going to be reelected or something? Snow thinks that if they were going to try to impeach him, they should have done it for funneling money from the Saudis, or instead they picked something stupid that will end up getting him reelected. Aw, thanks, Spangolitis. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, and Dano thinks it's like a sports team with Trump supporters are going to support him no matter what. You will re-elect Trump because of the impeachment? Interesting. Because he's cooking and that's just how he rolls, Howie. That's true. No, says the online media is more powerful than mainstream. I have not been able to harness the online media though. I'm online, but don't know how to harness it. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, one day I'd like to see that. That might be good. I know what David thinks. I don't necessarily agree with everything David thinks. I guess I like to think for myself. Do you go with the rudest man on earth or the party of crooks? 182 says. Yeah, some choice. Well, you could go with a third party, like David Sponheim for president. Who's Egghead? Am I Egghead? I don't know what Ben's beers are, so I agree to know. Both parties are crooks. Oh, he thinks things and tells me all the things he thinks every day, Howie. I suppose we could go backwards in some of the taxes that we had previously. Well, you could work to get David on the ballot in your state, 182. No, I have not yet been hit with a snowball this year. It wasn't too bad today. Today was a pretty good day. I'd have to look at what those were to know, but yeah, I do think that, yeah, I think that might be a interesting thing to look at. What are the kids waiting for? Snow. I haven't gotten hit with a snowball because there hasn't been any snow, but darn, it was cold today. Well, he talks a lot. I don't think that necessarily makes the house shake, but sometimes I like to sit in peace and quiet. But then I also learned that sitting in peace and quiet people think that I implicitly agree with what they say. And that's not the case. David's drawn to your intellect. Well, that's what I'm drawn to, Final Dream. Your intellect. I have always been drawn to people's intellect. I kind of consider myself a bit of a sapiophile. I know, Howie. Well, actually, what I said was shakes. Why is shakes and why is that like in the word shake, like there's a double on some kind of innuendo there? Because if that's what you mean, then maybe it used to, but now sometimes I just don't know. Yeah. I still would say I'm probably a bit of a sapiophile, but I've decided, I don't know. I've decided a lot of things, I guess, or nothing. Oop. Okay. I don't believe you, Trump Tardo. I don't believe you're being censored. Am I off 21st to January 3rd? I'm actually off. Part of me, I really like, no, yes, the 21st to, yes, that's exactly. Two weeks of no class, but that means I get to be here all the time. I really like my job. Maybe I want to go back. 19 days till school starts again. Kids are like, 9 days till Christmas. And I'm like, 19 days till we're back in school. That will be good. Yeah, it would help me too. Not for him to do that, but for me to get myself into shape. I am thinking of going to an orthodontist. David's like, your smile's fine. You don't need to spend that kind of money. And, yeah, I could invest it instead, but I could totally, yeah, change my smile, change my teeth. But of course I'd be wearing braces, and what would you all think if I were wearing braces online? Oh. Yikes, maxed out credit. He actually ate the tinsel? That's not good. Maybe I am getting DDoS. I'm definitely slowing down over here. Everything's just slowing down. I'll close out of the hill thing. That's the only thing I opened. Whoa, that's so weird. I just closed out of the hill and I seem like it's much better. Weird. You had a crazy Manx cat called Big B.O. or Big Bo. Never Pete. Pete Buttigieg has drawn the fury of the online left? I did not know that. Carly Fiorina wants to impeach Trump, but then she wants to vote for him again in 2020. That's just weird. I think they're all frozen. Do I restart or do I just keep going? Good now? Okay, I'll just keep going. The government extended the open enrollment for ACA health plans, American Care plans or whatever, but for 36 hours. Wow. Oh, Giuliani got $1 million from Russia. He says, oh, it was a loan from my wife. David has never made his own pasta. You say there's nothing wrong with my teeth and braces are for teenagers? Okay. All right, Howie. Thanks. I got a second opinion. My teeth are okay, but anyway, my teeth don't hurt. I go to a periodontist, and they were recommending my next step would be braces, because if I wanted to, rather than anyway. You got a bank calendar today, and it has pictures of old bank pictures. What a boring calendar. Yes, it is expensive, that's true. Tornadoes were reported in Louisiana. It damaged homes and a church, and left at least one person dead. Wow. Yeah, I don't know about that Invisalign. Yeah. I think David's finished cutting what he was going to cut. Not tonight, Dopey Davy, but on Thursday nights, David watches the show in the other room. What's the truth from your perspective? Because I think truth can be subjective. Oh. Yeah. Hi, Eddie. How are you? Maybe spicy? No. We don't do roadkill. You mean dental hygienists? Women teeth people? Hey, Eddie, yeah, if I'm talking and I seem like, what is she talking about? I'm also responding to the chat in 5 other locations. Hello. I don't think I like your name. I'm going to call you Dak. Ill. That's true. Roadkill would be good because, yeah. Anyway. I don't really think about that. I really do more composting. I probably wouldn't eat expired food if I weren't around David. Probably do one of those like clean out days of my whole house. And anyway, that's what I would probably do. I'm not though. Dopey. I'm not. Talk more, work less was her style. Oh, you want a hygienist that's talk less, work more. Yes, I am a centrist. That much is true. Sarah, have you ever been warm? Yes, I have been warm. Any news on the KonMari school project? I have slowly... Well, my classroom is looking really good lately. I haven't totally gone through and gotten rid of everything that doesn't bring me joy, but I'm working on it. David does not have any shirts that he can't wear because he spilled pasta on them. Pasta sauce on them. He wears them no matter if there is pasta sauce. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't have pasta sauce on his shirt. Somehow he keeps it clean. Like, I don't know how he does it. He cooks in a dress shirt and manages to keep it clean. No, he doesn't wear a bib or an apron. To tip her? What, Daryl? That seems like you need a different hygienist. What did the tree wear to the pool party? Swimming trunks. That's a cute one. But I have organized my classroom. So that's good. It's really good. What is a melt up? Wall Street sees the stock market on the verge of a melt up. What is a melt up? Hey, how are you? Wait. Oh. A melt up would be a short covering rally, so everything would go up. Is the stock market on the brink of breaking into an unmitigated run-up to fresh records? Latest concerted assault on all-time closing highs, powered by the hope that the U.S. and China can forge a preliminary trade accord to resolve a prolonged battle over import duties. So melt up, huh? A short covering rally. Yes, the candidate still does support the seawater pipeline. Yes. The seawater pipeline. Do you all want to hear about that? That's pretty funny. That's cute tree. Christmas tree. Cute. Yeah. No, we don't. Do we really? No, we don't. I just want to talk about your life. How are things going? Is business? Are you guys all invested in the stock market already for the asset melt up? Maybe you're not invested in the stock market. That's all right. I've been listening to a little bit of things about Warren Buffett and I've been listening to the idea of compound interest. And how compounding, Warren just felt like he himself was retired with $100,000 and I guess 69 because he felt like, hey, I can live a meager life and I don't want to spend $10 on a haircut. Highway robbery. But then they're like, well, if he invested that $10 went back in the days, then that's like worth $1 million now based on compound interest. I definitely can't afford Berkshire Hathaway stock, but actually, I mean, yeah, but really the thing is how he does the insider stuff is he reads. I've been listening how he reads like financial reports a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he probably is like the grandfatherly, oh shucks guy next door, because he's like, all you have to do is work on compound interest, just live long enough and stay in the market and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I doubt he ever borrowed anything. Cannibal's husband, hey, welcome. Yeah.
Yes, if you still support the seawater pipeline.
Yeah, we do. We have the seawater pipeline as a solution for California's drought.
I know, that's exactly what you were looking for, the candidate.
So we're all impressed with this. What are we impressed with? The benefit of getting fresh water. Water is really the theme. I mean, when you go to our water site here, hang on.
Like you've never heard before. We are discussing issues from both sides of the political spectrum every night. Join us as we take on the two-party system.
Okay, so we're dedicated to water. That's right. That's our sign off at the evening when we close the show down at 1 in the morning. We're in the show from 10 to 1 with videos. You can watch any type of video. We've got a whole stream of rare videos that you won't see on YouTube. And it's all cutting edge related to what's happening today. It is a great video, yeah. But water really is the theme behind the seawater pipeline. And if we create unlimited amounts of fresh water, it'll be cheap for all of us. And the possibility of growing population-wise is increased exponentially. Water will be the future. And if we create cheap water, it'll mean a better future for all of us. I believe water is one of the secrets to peace on earth, actually. Fresh water. Not salt water, obviously. We've got salt water. Okay, we got a floating solar farm climate crisis. Yeah, I've seen those. Very similar to what I've been proposing in my book, Hybrid Capitalism. Let's take a look at that. Here they are. Yeah, solar. I envision a solar pyramid which desalinates the floating in the water. But this is cool. Giant floating solar farms could make fuel and help the climate crisis. I totally love this. Solar panels all over the ocean. I'd like to include this in a desalination plan too, which we then could pipe into the border areas where these things could be stationed outside the watered areas. Many ports could have these types of things along with desalination systems attached to them. We could be generating fresh water and electricity simultaneously.
Very cool.
So I made you some sweet potato curry.
Sweet potato curry.
Yes,
Okay.
sweet potato curry with chicken and peas.
Okay, cool.
Should be good.
Sounds good. All right.
Oh, yeah, I'm good. So I'm all
We'll go
set.
have that.
Thank you. And then relax, enjoy, have some rest.
Okay.
All right. Is this yours? I'll give this to you.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
No problem. So are you thinking of building an alligator python border fence? Wouldn't that be a great idea? To combat the corruption? I'm sorry, you don't want to go in here. This is where Russia's involvement with Trump is. Yeah, I don't want to hang out here, but oh well. I guess I got caught here. Yeah, I mean, all this is how Donald Trump is helping Russia. And I was just showing you earlier how Trump is considered a Russian, an agent of Russia, and his handlers are like, Putin and Lavrov, people that handle him. Well, what they're trying to do is Russia's trying to destroy Ukraine. And when Ukraine got all the money from the EU and from the US, and when Trump held that up, he was actually hurting Ukraine. And then he'd never imposed Russian sanctions up until about 2 years into the presidency. Donald didn't, which means he was helping Russia all that time. And then he disrespected NATO, which is clearly an enemy of Russia. And that's hurt our relations with our allies. And he's destabilized the government of Venezuela and Maduro. Instead of embracing Maduro's government, he alienated it and caused them to go to Russia. And then he left Syria, leaving it in the hands of Russia. And then he's been attacking Iran, pushing them closer into the support of Russia. And then he continues to create a Chinese trade war as a result of that economic sanctions to Iran, which is helping Russia elevate their economy. And I have to remind you, there are still no audio or videotapes of Putin or even Zelensky. And he's still waiting. Zelensky's still waiting to meet President Trump in person. That was part of the quid pro quo deal. They've kind of like kept that down in the news. And let's not forget the IRS tax returns, which Trump vehemently tries to defend against anyone seeing, which is not what he said during the election. He said, "Oh, I'll gladly show you my tax returns, no problem." Remember that? Yeah. Now let's go to the border fence. The 1,000-mile border fence. I've got to find it. It's somewhere in Twilight Zone. Do. Yeah. It's an ATP Ideas. Okay. Just have to find it. That's right. That's right, Barcode Pongo. You're describing your stools in the show. Well, this is a political show. So unless your stools have something to do with politics, maybe you're a fecal donor and you'd like to talk about your stools, but really this isn't the place for it. This is the future of America and the rest of the world if we continue to allow the two parties to be used and handled by the Zionist New World Order elitists that control our future. Yeah, sucks, doesn't it? I know. Who wants the elitists taking over? Forming a cybersecurity force of robocops. Now that's the future, the dystopian future that we're looking at. Not the pretty future where cows walk freely in the plains and the birds and the antelopes play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word. Yeah, so we have a different approach to the problems in the country. We, of course, want to legalize marijuana. We see that as a benefit for the country at large. And we're trying to get rid of the dystopian future and bring on the happy thoughts. But in the process of bringing on the happy thoughts, we're surrounded by the reality that we are going to be invaded by thousands of illegal aliens, if not hundreds of thousands, and 1 million at the border every single year. So Donald Trump has not really done enough to deal with this, and we're suggesting possibly even a moat with alligators and Python. And this is our original idea here, my original idea. Trump stole it, claiming it was his idea. But the moat idea is definitely realistic. Back in the old days, marijuana was illegal because they wanted to keep illegal aliens out of the country. And it made no sense for our country because clearly marijuana or cannabis is a beneficial product which is medicinal. So we have to have a better plan to deal with the border crisis than making illegal drugs, which were coming in from Mexico, part of that plan. So what to do with the border fence? This will be my border fence room. Trump's slat fence is not good enough. They've already cut through it and scaled over it recently. We've seen pictures of that on Live Leak. It's a pathetic joke, is what it is. The Republican Party was destroyed after the Great Depression. Yeah, in a way, it was hijacked by corporatism, I think. I agree. Don't know. But we have an idea of building some sort of a living area for the people. All the illegal aliens that come to our country need a place to stay. So why not create a 1,000-mile border fence out of the containers? This container wall could be a veritable 1,000-mile border fence. So we're looking at that as a possibility. You see, I am trying to get it behind me. Okay. Ah, it did it again. Unbelievable. Well, there's clearly something a little bit... Dave, I was telling Sarah, hey, Dopey, hang on. Don't come in here. You're not allowed in here, sir. Yeah, let's get this dang container fence up, dang it. See how hard it is to construct? Well, that's because I got it all faced the wrong way. Let's flip her. Okay. Now you're talking. There we go. Thank you. We now take a break and listen to Joe Biden being very weird around children.
All right. Well, nice to see you guys. Thank you. See you back home, I hope.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? Well, you want your daughter to hold the Bible? You jump in the middle, Angel. You come right on this side of Mommy. No, you come over here. That's it. Keep going. You're going to stand right next to me. There you go. And then we're going to have
There you go.
Daddy put his left hand in the Bible if he can. You can reach it and repeat. Not repeat it. We're just going to, hey, man, here we go. You're about to enter, so help you God. God love you. You're a lucky man. You're a lucky man.
He's having fun. Thank you, sir.
No serious guys here. 30 minutes. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What a beautiful thing. That's how old my children are.
Excuse me, Mr. Biden. Could you stay away from...
Come on, slide
family?
across. Good.
You know, that was kind of normal. That was Creepy Joe being Creepy Joe. You know, what's the big deal? Really. But let's get back to that fence idea. Okay, so the 1,000-mile container fence, $1 billion in total, because each one of these is only about $2,000 a piece once we buy them in bulk. Yeah, so nothing to worry about there money-wise. Please don't interrupt while I'm in the middle of a conversation with myself. Thank you. And what we're going to try to do is make sure that everybody has a place to, hang out. We'll have bunk beds and a lot of these things so that the people that come to the country illegally won't be sent to some FEMA camp where they're extinguished or put in an incinerator. This is going to be a nice place for them to visit, hang out, and all the doors will be open. There won't be any locks on these doors. In fact, some of them will be wide open. So you won't have to worry about being trapped inside. Okay? Because I know a lot of people were worried about that. Oh, I don't want people trapped inside of the containers, David. It's no problemo. It's okay. No problemo. And there won't be a mucho trabajo required. You can hang out with your families, and we'll have places for everybody. That's the goal. Meanwhile, on the other side of that fence, the U.S. will be waiting for your asylum trial, and everything will be going along as you get homes and placement. Now, we can even go double-decker on these things and have people living upstairs, too. But I don't think the top layer will have anybody at all. That's more like a sensor device that triggers alarms if you get near it. So this is the goal, to have a really nice border fence, and something Trump can't possibly do. He has been unable to implement a fence idea. And like I said, that crappy fence that he had was just a joke. And he's still putting that up. It's just unfortunate. Boy, we got a lot of things I haven't really been getting into lately over here in the fence land. Yeah, I'm trying to clean up my rooms. I've had a few problems with computer responsivity, and I've been trying to get things to work properly, and everything has to come out of the hard drive again. So yeah, I've got a whole lot of cleaning to do here. Cleaning. Okay. Yeah, it's too bad. I'm trying to purposely keep my show rolling without any major problems. And sometimes I've been running into some computer errors after doing the show for 11 years. So we've been through a few computers. I'm trying to make sure my hard drives are running properly. So I cleaned everything out. But anyway, this is what his current fence has cost. 175 miles cost $3.6 billion. Now we're hoping to build 1,000 miles for $1 billion total, which means it's way light years ahead of anything Trump's working on, and means the funding is more realistic. Now we do have to deal with the border fence problem, because obviously our country is going to be really in demand with legalization of marijuana. People are going to want to move into this country, and there's a lot of possibility that people are going to just come in here hoping that they can make a fortune selling marijuana. Well, it's not going to happen. For one, we're not going to take in any illegal marijuana shipments from other countries, including Canada. We won't be taking in any shipments whatsoever. So all American-grown marijuana will be sold here, and no imports will be brought in. That's a big, big, important thing right now. So any real solution people will have for getting a career in growing marijuana or selling marijuana or condensing it down into the edibles and the dabs and all that, that'll be part of an ingrown home industry that will be building up the profit centers in this country. And believe it or not, marijuana is part of this border fence concept, because we have to stop the influx of illegal marijuana coming into our country. That's one of the reasons why we want a barrier, not just to keep people out, but to actually help prevent illegal shipments of marijuana affecting a growth industry in our country, which could be definitely in the hundreds of billions eventually. They estimate 30 billion to start with. That's just for starters. So, all right, great. Thanks for sharing. To the room. Dave, will you mandate that all cannabis be sold in the same store at high-powered? No, we won't mandate anything. I'm not like a Democrat. I'm not going to force anybody to have regulations to mandate this or that. The minimalist approach is always the best, and the simpler it is, the better. So we want to just give people free reign to grow it for themselves for personal use, but if we find you're growing a huge harvest in your backyard, we'll ask you, do you have a permit? And you'll have to file to actually pay taxes, because you'll have to sell the remainder. Otherwise, you'll be turning it into, some really good THC or CBD oil. Or maybe you've got a grow operation and a refinement operation, which would be allowed, you see. But if you're just a grower and you're just trying to grow it for massive use, we wouldn't accept that. Barcode, what do you mean? We have a question for you, Barcode. What is this thing I'm asking you right here? Because you may very well be a robot. What is the answer to that question? Barcode. Okay, sleep well. You want a little cowbell? Okay, here comes cowbell. Sorry. Max took off already. Okay, we're done with no cowbell for you. Sorry. You have been removed from the show. Your primary directive is failing. Barcode, you are correct. You're fine. You're good to stay here. But we had to ban a couple of robot slammers who come into our show as hackers and Autobots. Okay, on to the next question. How did Donald Trump stay afloat financially when all of his businesses were collapsing, and during the subprime mortgage debacle, which affected all real estate holders? Well, Trump helped save his businesses with Russia's help. That's right. Let's read a little bit of this. We're going to read a little of this. There we go. Okie dokie. After his financial disasters 2 decades ago, no U.S. bank would touch him. Then foreign money began flowing in. What do you mean? What? Oh, I thought you were there, Matt. Where are you? Oh, you're there. I'm sorry. You were caught in the lineup. Well, you got cowbell coming. Sorry. I totally blew it. The cow was deflating. He had to let go some of his flatulence. 48 gallons of flatulence he produces a day, based on the studies. But I didn't realize you're in the room. You were kind of caught up in the middle of all the others. Lost in the mix, so to speak. Okay, cowbell on tap for Max to have sweet dreams. Good night, Max. Sleep well, man. Count the sheep. Okay, I was just drinking from the udder. What an utter disaster. After his financial disasters 2 decades ago, no U.S. bank would touch him. In the fall of 1992, after he cut a deal with U.S. banks to work off nearly $1 billion in personal debt, I remember that. It almost looks like he got a deal with the Federal Reserve, $1 billion written off. That was the Henry Kissinger move. Donald Trump put on a big gala for himself in Atlanta. Yep, there it is. To announce his comeback, party guests were given sticks with a picture of Trump's face glued to them so that they could be photographed posing as the infamous real estate mogul. As the theme music from the movie Rocky filled the room, an MC shouted, "Let's hear it for the king!" And then Trump, wearing red boxing gloves and a robe, burst through the paper screen. One of his casino executives announced that his boss had returned as a winner, according to Trump biographer Michael D'Antonio. But it was mainly an act. D'Antonio told Foreign Policy. In truth, Trump actually was all but finished as a major real estate developer. In the eyes of many in the business, and that's because of the U.S. banking industry, was pretty much finished with him. By the early 1900s, he had burned through his portion of his father's Fred Fortune's wealth with a series of reckless business decisions. 2 of his businesses had declared bankruptcy: the Trump Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City and the Plaza Hotel in New York. And the money pit that was the Trump shuttle went out of business in 1992. Trump companies would ultimately declare Chapter 11 bankruptcy 2 more times. When would-be borrowers repeatedly filed for protection from their creditors, they become poison to most major lenders. And according to financial experts interviewed for this story, such was Trump's reputation in the U.S. financial industry in that juncture. For the rest of the 90s, as a chastened Trump launched little in the way of major new business ventures, with a few exceptions such as the Trump World Tower across from the UN, which began construction in 1999. With 2 German lenders, Deutsche Bank and Bayerische Hyperund Vereinsbank. He took about 10 years off, and he really sort of licked his wounds and tried to recover, according to D'Antonio. As late as 2003, Trump was in such desperate financial trouble that in a meeting with his siblings following his father's death, he pressed them to hurriedly sell his father's estate off against the late Fred Trump's wishes, the New York Times reported. In an investigation of Trump's financial finances in October, and his businesses kept failing. In 2004, the Trump hotels and casino resorts filed for bankruptcy with $1.8 billion in debt. Wow. I understand now he has like $2.4 billion. We now go to my son? No, this is Joe Biden, man.
There we go. You got it? Okay.
This is who you want.
Hey, do you ever wonder, like, what is going on? I mean, like, do you ever, like, wake up or do something and you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Okay, but eventually Trump made a comeback. And according to several sources with knowledge of Trump's business, foreign money played a large role in reviving his fortunes, in particular investment by wealthy people from Russia. And this is right around the time that his daughter got involved with Jared Kushner, who was a member of the Shabbat Leibovitch organization, which is like a nest egg of Ashkenazis that live in and around the Long Island, New York area. Okay, in particular, investment by wealthy people from Russia, former Soviet republics. This conclusion is buttressed by a growing body of evidence amassed by news agencies, as well as what is reportedly being investigated by Special Counsel Mueller and the District of New York. And it's a conclusion that even Trump's eldest son, Trump Jr., has appeared to confirm, saying in 2008, after the Trump organization was prospering again, that Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets. So Donald Trump Jr. has already said that Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-sections of a lot of our assets. It goes on to say much more. So let me give you guys, and this is foreignpolicy.com, which is a mainstream kind of thing. Good night. Worth reading. This is really a good read. So the veritable money that came out of the Russian oligarchs went right into Trump and kept him afloat. And he was cash rich during that time period. All right, thank you. I'm going to drop that in the hopper. Albino Fruit Loop, we have a question for you. I'm going to put a question on the screen, Albino. If you could answer the question, I'd appreciate that. Albino Fruit Loop. Now, we're going to go to a question on the screen it's a fairly complex question. You may have to, get a calculator out, but you can answer it any way you want. But just try to get it on the screen. It's going to be moving, so you won't be able to find it exactly on the screen at any given time. So you won't be able to lock in on it for very long. Can you answer that question? Well, I'm trying again. What's the answer to the question? Well, can you answer now? What's the answer to the question? Well, get a calculator. Yeah, I'll wait. Yeah, I don't mind. Hey, it's the computer can't actually trace it when it's roaming around the screen. It can't keep up with it. It's not that smart. We have people in here who aren't even people. They're bots. So we have to root them out. Okay, waiting for your calculator. Come on, you can open up a calculator by this time. Duh. A 9-year-old child prodigy. You got the answer. You can stay in the room. Okay, thank you. 9-year-old child prodigy is set to become the youngest university grad in the world. Yes. And her name isn't Greta. Here she comes. Yeah, I would have gladly graduated from the university at 9 or even 8 if I had given the opportunity, but they held me back in the public school system. Laurent Simmons intended to graduate from the electrical engineering program at Eindhoven University in Technology in December. The Belgian boy has been described as simply extraordinary by his staff. That's wonderful. He's probably mastered most of his calculus and went on to do engineering, mechanics of physics, and physics of solids. According to this, he has an IQ of 145. Not too high of an IQ, but he's an overachiever. He finished high school by age 8, completing it in its entirety in only 18 months. Yeah, I'd worry about him. I'd get him into some psychological help. Maybe he could spend some time with Jeffrey Epstein on the Epstein Island. That might be, good for him to kind of hang out with the guru himself.
Is it true, sir, that you have what's been described as an egg-shaped penis?
Yeah, that's how the world is working now. People are like thinking, well, what do you mean, Dave? You want him to go on Epstein Island? What? Well, yeah, I mean, we can't even put Jeffrey Epstein in jail, let alone identify his body. He's out there. He was seen 20 days after he allegedly died, and we're talking about some kid who's an overachiever? That's ridiculous. He may have some mental problems, though, the child. I was kidding about him going to Epstein Island. I just wanted to change the subject. Yeah, I don't know what that is. The school told him they would not let him finish his degree in December, saying the boy needed to be socialized more and be a kid. Yeah, that kid's going to he's going to go through so much emotional hell. And I was kidding when I said Jeffrey Epstein's Island, but he'll be going through a transition in his life that'll really kind of be overwhelming. Well, I'm glad his parents did something to hold him back, but there's something going on there. At 145 IQ, he's overachieving. My IQ, it was higher than that, and I would have gladly taken on, I skipped a grade, 7th grade, but I would have gladly taken on 4 or 5 years of college when I was 7 years old. In fact, they told me I had the mind of an 18-year-old when I was 7. So that was what they told me. I had the intellect of an 18-year-old. So I'm not jealous of this kid. I feel sorry for them because even I pulled it out at 7th grade, affected me in many ways on a personal level, just acclimating to college and also being violated by affirmative action, which is a conspiracy against white people. Yeah, affirmative action is kind of a sad story. People who are victimized by that, Caucasians mostly. But some people, even Asians, have had a problem with the quotas to get into medical school and to engineering schools are limited for Asians, and they shouldn't be. And I feel bad for that because a lot of Asians want to pursue degrees in science in the U.S. and are being held back, ironically, because their English is not good enough. Their SATs aren't too high. So there's a lot of things just don't seem right the way our colleges look at entrance into any university platform. And I think there's a lot to be changed in that department. One of the areas I'd like to change is the concept of declaring independent status, individual financial status at the age of 21 would be better than 25. Because right now people who are at least 25 are, they're already dropping off the ledge of going to college. They don't want to even bother. Whereas at 21, you're still going on that learning curve when you had your act together in high school, maybe in junior college. So anybody who can't financially afford to go to college at 21 should have an opportunity to get financial independent status. And that's not going to be that difficult. An executive order will get the ball in motion. Congress can follow up with the same theory. Building that into a plan for earlier education for young people would be very, very good. And it wouldn't cost us too much more. Our Pell Grant system really needs to be beefed up, though. A lot of young people want to get a college education and can't right now. And that's acutely a big concern of mine because I was limited at a certain age. I would have much rather have gone to college than to go into the working environment and work 3 jobs. But it did fast track me toward personal savings, which prevented a big student loan from dragging me down. So in a way, I got ahead of things financially that way by not having a college education. Well, the best deal currently on a full spool of razor wire. Are you planning on doing your perimeter of your compound that you're living at, Howie? Okay. Well, there's not really a big, huge deal right now. You can get pretty much rolls for $91, galvanized steel. This is adequate for defending you and your loved ones. Laura and I don't need that. There's razor wire right there, galvanized, all types of outdoor use. You got 3 available for only $91, and we're talking about 492 linear feet, which will cover most acre properties, almost. Well, not quite. It'll come up a little short. You may not need 2 of those. How much is your complex? How many acres do you have, Howie? You think Trump likes coffee and donuts? He does. He eats a lot. And he's messing up a lot, too. I think Trump is on a kind of a whirlwind goal is to just pad his pocket. I think Trump, when you look at him logistically, he's just a really greedy guy. Maybe some people think he's the Antichrist. Some people think he's, God sent, like Rick Perry believes. But I believe that he's just a really greedy guy and manipulatable for that reason. Was affirmative action during college? No. I didn't do blackface during college, no. I waited till 2008, 2009 to do blackface. I would never have done it either if I had known that the country was as censored as it is. If I hadn't experienced that hard censorship in 2008, I never would have done blackface. But I only did it so that I'd get the jump on all the idiots in the media who think that they can somehow censor everybody. I've already made some big strides just doing the show every night for the past 11 years. No, I didn't wait too long. Actually, I did a very kind of a shocking little bit in college that most people haven't heard about, but it might get out. Yeah, I shocked a lot of people. I did the unthinkable on stage. And it had nothing to do with nudity. People used to joke because at the time I used to call myself Abdul Lumumbo. And I would walk around to people and say in a voice that sounded like a person from Zambia. I would talk like this. And they would say, yes, I am from Zambia. And my parents were trained in Lusaka. They are ambassadors to the US. And I talk like this. And they actually believed me. And I thought that was really kind of weird. You know, but just across the water, or just across the city of Los Angeles around the same time, Obama was literally hanging out, doing his thing, and being himself. But he talked like a white man. So it's very interesting too. Well, let's be clear. We're at Occidental College, and we're working to make sure that the people are, you know. And so, ironically, I had a separate track at the same year that Barack was at Occidental. I was doing Bwana Abdul Lumumba. I created this character called Bwana Abdul Lumumba, and people loved it. They thought it was the funniest thing. They couldn't believe how a white guy could sound like that. So some people even refer to me as Abdul to this day. Have you ever noticed that I'm not Andy Rooney? That Andy Rooney's a different person than me? And I'm not channeling with him because he died a few years ago? But did you ever know that when people go around acting like the opposite of who they are, people will believe them? And I found out how gullible people were during those years. And I really was kind of saddened by it. And I don't want people to be gullible. I want people to, you know, to take everybody with a grain of salt. But have you ever noticed that it's hard to know what a person's like unless you get to know them? So, and everyone believes everything on face value. Have you ever noticed that? My job at CBS was cut when I died, so I don't get any more money. Andy Rooney, one of the great Andy Rooney, everybody. Thank you.
No, they did not left again. No, this was not left at me. No, they believed everything I said. What shocked me is that they believed that I would be from Africa and look like I do. It's like we take the lime and the coconut and rub it all over.
And they believed that voice. They actually thought it was really me. I thought that really was kind of a statement issue. It kind of shocked me that people were that out of it and they still qualified for going to college. Then I realized that the entire college system was comprised of mostly herding of cattle, indoctrination. If they were that stupid to believe that I was from Africa, then surely they'd believe anything a college professor would tell them. Oh, really? So you like my face morphing? I got a lot of face morphing. Yeah, we're not really doing a show for your edification. This show isn't designed to be like a format show.
But I do sound like someone from Zambia. I'm afraid you do not qualify to be here.
Yeah, I have an excellent Zambian voice. I did an Idi Amin impersonation. Yeah, Idi Amin Dada. Yeah, he was quite a guy. And he's on record speaking out, Idi Amin. And he spoke out in a way that would, you know, scare the living daylights at everybody around him. You know, if you look at the history of Idi Amin, you realize that this guy he's got a lot of hatred, stored up inside of him.
And he talks like this. And Idi Amin Dada was the grand controller of the entire region. No one has ever gotten near Idi Amin.
But no, seriously, this guy ruled the nation for years, led to a disastrous world economy for their country.
In Zambia.
General Idi Amin Dada. But, you know, what can you say? You've got an autocratic leader, talk just like that. It's a story. Uganda, yeah. The Ugandan president. Sorry, I meant to say Zambian. I'm Ugandan, I meant. Thank you. Okay, we're going to leave that segment of the show and go back to the streaming bits of information that are just very pertinent to what we're talking about. So how Russian money helped save Trump's business. I'm going to put that in the Flipboard so you guys can access it. It'll be in Trump Sucks. I put it in GOP Russian collaboration, but I'm going to leave it in Trump Sucks instead. That's a category. Let's see if I have a Flipboard. Max sent us a potential costume for Sarah for Christmas. She went as a tree, and I went as a stump during Halloween. That's pretty funny. She'd look good in that. Okay. Yeah, I don't have the Flipboard here. There it is. So if you want to check any of our Flipboard items, just go here. And go to the magazine called Trump Sucks if you want to see that one. I've got a few things to put away. Military setting up large 5G experiments. I'm going to toss that one. I don't care. I mean, sure, they're going to do that. Trump denies any Russian influence in the election. Again.
No, Russia did not help me get elected. You know who got me elected? You know who got me elected? I got me elected. Russia didn't help me at all. Russia, if anything, I think helped the other side. What you ought to ask is this. Do you think the media helped Hillary Clinton get elected? She didn't make it. But you take a look at collusion between Hillary Clinton and the media. You take a look at collusion between Hillary Clinton and Russia. She had more to do in the campaign with Russia than I did. I had nothing to do. And by the way, that's one other thing. If you look, this was all about Russia, Russia, Russia. They don't talk about Russia anymore because it turned out to be a hoax. It was all a hoax. And then they say, gee, he fought back. Isn't that terrible? He fought back.
Now, the State Department has said emphatically that this is not a hoax. Russia did control and contaminate the election. There's no making up. This is not a hoax. So he's lying outright right now, and he's trying to redefine history. No, well, I agree with him that the Hillary story and the uranium deal was not discussed much in the media. I agree with him there, but the State Department all conferred this was a Russian contaminated election. He cheated to win. Donald Trump cheated to win, no question about it. You don't have to go very far to find that out, but sure. Soros and Biden, globalist puppet masters behind Ukraine. Sure, you can believe that. But it really...
Angelo would like to speak to you.
Angelo.
D'Angelo.
Hey.
Here, I'll take over the show. I wouldn't put him on speaker.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead. Hang on. Yeah, go ahead, D'Angelo. What's the question?
He's obviously, whatever. He's in the show, and he probably wants to be on the show.
What would you like to talk about, Matt?
But
I'm here. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
Well, I'm taking calls from you. What's your question, D'Angelo?
All right, chat's open, everyone. Hello.
Who will be the Democratic candidate for the upcoming party? I think it'll be between Biden and Buttigieg.
Well, did you read that Buttigieg, the online left is totally not in favor? They're railing against Buttigieg?
Yeah, they don't like him. The corporate structure he came from is very suspicious.
Oh, okay.
But I think the Zionists own both Buttigieg and Biden, so it'll be one of those two. I don't know if Elizabeth Warren can pull it off. She's too much of a liar. Well, thank you for your question, D'Angelo. Yeah, go ahead. What other? He's got a 9% chance because he bought his way in right now. Bloomberg does, but he's not an attractive candidate. Whereas Buttigieg is probably the better looking of the two between Biden and the two. But the question is, will America want to vote for a homosexual president? I don't think they will. Knowingly, I think they would have voted against Biden or against Barack Obama if they'd known he was gay.
You really think people are anti-gay like that?
I think the majority of people in
necessarily think
America,
that's true.
I think the majority of people in America would not want a gay president right now. Not at this
know.
juncture. But Buttigieg might just, surprise everybody if he could explain what he was doing for 3 years in a secret PR firm that did the kind of things that corporatists do to control elections. So he can't answer for his 3 years of secrecy. Buttigieg.
I guess I don't know. I guess so. I love fries. I don't. I suppose I could imagine that. Would I want to? I don't know. I just don't have a problem with it, but anyway. Did everybody just leave? Were we getting a DDoSed or something? Yes, lots of dropped frames on Twitch and everywhere else, I'm sure. But you don't like Elizabeth Warren. I agree. I'm not an Elizabeth Warren fan either. I'm not really. Dak thinks that Trump likes coffee and donuts. You might be right. I'm not a fan of coffee, but donuts? Actually, I kind of like, or bagels? Yeah, anyway. Who's my candidate? A David Sponheim. I don't think I have another choice. I haven't really been following well, actually I have, obviously. I'm on this show, so. Oh, David Sponheim for president. If only more people knew about him.
I do think that the idea, if Buttigieg wins the Democratic nomination, it's very likely Trump will win in 2020. If he runs. I think the likelihood of Trump winning is greater than ever before if he goes on against Buttigieg. If he battles Biden, I think Biden could beat him. I do.
You think Biden could beat Trump, but you don't think Buttigieg could beat Trump?
I don't, for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of innate prejudice against homosexuality still lingering in America. And it's not going to be evident to the most people who want to be politically correct on the far left.
Right.
It's actually...
he means people like...
No, I'm just saying that 90% of the population still isn't gay or openly gay, whereas 10% is.
Well, it seems to me like what you're saying is that people are privately anti-gay.
Yeah, I think they are. I think people are, for the most part, privately anti-gay. I think for the most part in America, majority of us are.
Well, I definitely am not.
Oh, I'm not either. I'm not anti-gay.
Well, then people would say, oh, some things you say and...
I'm just telling you what the cross spectrum of America. Remember, America elected Donald Trump.
Yeah, you're right.
Donald Trump isn't openly gay.
Yeah.
America elected a man who, and I'm almost assured that Donald Trump will win in 2020 if he goes up against Buttigieg.
All right.
That's what I have, my take on it.
Oh, but he claims to. I love fries. Or not support, but I don't know. He tries the centrist discussion on it. I don't know. Yes, I like bacon, lettuce, and tomato as well. Anyway. Maybe Dave is right. Okay, you don't care what he does sexually, but you think he's too young, he has no real experience, and he's basically phony. So what, Anthony, if that's true? Who cares? I guess that's my point. Yeah, true about South End. Tulsi 3 hours ago, Tulsi Gabbard wants to raise $1 million by December 31st. I would love to raise $1 million by December 31st, but should I believe that that's going to happen? Please help contribute to David Sponheim's grassroots campaign. We need to raise $1 million by December 31st to stay competitive. How much can you give? America's Third Party at gmail.com. That's our PayPal. The first thing I thought of, Joe, was a letter that starts with the letter M. The word that starts with the letter M. Get the poison out. Well, yeah, I'm not a fan of Bernie Sanders either. I guess I am a fan of David Sponheim. I guess that's what it comes down to. All right. But yeah, I know it's election 2020, and I don't see any candidates in the major two parties that I would support. I agree. We do need a third party, not the same puppet two-party system. There are 15 Democrats running and 3 Republicans, according to the New York Times. Oh, I have to log in order to do that for free. This won't. I wonder if that's the same thing with people. The list of 2020 presidential candidates grew to more than 24 before beginning to shrink. There's Representative John Delaney, 55-year-old businessman and former Maryland congressional representative. He announced his campaign in July 2017. He's a Democrat, but he left office earlier this year. Why? If you're a representative, why would you leave office? Andrew Yang, 44-year-old founder of Venture for America. It's a Teach for America for entrepreneurs. He says he's a capitalist. He believes a universal basic income is necessary for capitalism to continue. There was Elizabeth Warren, of course. I don't like her. I wonder when this was published. This was published December 3rd. I don't know if any of these have dropped out since then. Julian Castro, former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, 44. He was mayor in San Antonio, Texas before joining Obama's administration. He would become the country's first Latino president. He's a longtime supporter of LGBTQ rights and early childhood education. He fought for federal funding to jumpstart green jobs. Tulsi Gabbard. She represents parts of Hawaii in the House of Representatives. She was originally born in America's Samoa, the first American Samoan and Hindu member of Congress, economic progressive, critic of America's armed interventions abroad, socially conservative, and there's Mayor Buttigieg, 37-year-old. That is pretty young. That's very young. I wonder if he's one of the youngest. If he were to win, he might be the youngest. He's openly LGBTQ. He's a veteran in the Afghanistan war served in the Navy throughout his deployment, born and raised in South Bend. Then he went to Harvard and became a consultant at McKinsey. Marianne Williamson, 66-year-old self-help author. She's no traditional political, business, or military experience. She wants to combat man-made climate change, reform gun laws, and provide universal health care. Sounds like most Democrats. Yeah, it's kind of weird, Howie. Oh, I should be showing you guys that. Okay, I agree with you. Thanks, Herbal Ascension. He said Tulsi ran along Bernie as a vice for many years. She's a no-go. This is Senator Cory Booker. 49-year-old graduate of Stanford and Yale. He was mayor of Newark, New Jersey, then elected to Senate. Amy Klobuchar, Minnesota Democrat. 3-term senator, 58 years old, widely popular in her state. I kind of like Klobuchar so far. She's in support of universal health care, combating climate change, and expanding voter registration access.
All right. Guess I'll head on in.
Then, of course, there's Bernie Sanders. Ugh.
Yeah, Bernie might not be able to pull it off, though, because it's like they want a young guy, like Joe Biden. You know, he's
young.
Well, he's 2 years younger than Bernie.
Most of the people running are 44. Mayor Wayne Messam.
Wayne Messam. Well, I don't know. There's probably a lot of very qualified Democrats to run as Zionists, and I think Buttigieg is one of them. Biden is another Zionist. And the American people are going to come down to, do they really just want to vote for a Zionist? That's the question. I think Americans are becoming a little bit weary of being involved in 2 wars, doing this all for the Zionist directive. And then many people are really hesitant to get involved with this carbon point legislation the Democrats are pitching, which is a lot of BS, forcing people to, deny their carbon, laying the blame on everybody. Tom Steyer's got an interesting approach. Billionaire investor.
He reportedly plans to spend $100 million or more on his race.
Yeah. Steve Forbes spent $57 million on his race and didn't get him past 3rd place. But Tulsi looks good, yeah, if you like Antifa, and she represents a very far left position. Buttigieg's biggest benefit really is that he's gay, because he has about a 10% voting populace that'll push him past the other guys. Biden won't pull the gay votes, and he certainly won't pull the minority votes. A lot of them, even Kamala Harris, kind of ganged up on Biden one day and pushed him against the minority votes. Warren acts like she's going to try to pull the minority votes, but having done that thing with Cherokee Indian status, not having no Native American ancestry whatsoever, it's kind of hypocritical beyond belief. People are laughing at her.
I think Bloomberg has more of a chance than Biden.
I think Biden's strong. I see Biden as a player because people have the incumbent factor with him. The VP position that he held for 8 years means it would be a natural ascension for him to make it to the presidency. And I think Biden has got the best chance of beating Trump. of all the Democrats. Buttigieg is too weak. He couldn't handle Trump head on in a verbal combat point. In fact, it would be kind of pathetic. You see, the problem with Buttigieg is he's using religious piety against other people. He's actually gone on and attacked Ted Cruz for having had extramarital affairs, or his wife being a prostitute. It's just ridiculous. His wife, Ted Cruz's wife, never was a prostitute. Trump called her a prostitute. And Buttigieg used religious piety as a tool. And that doesn't play well with the American Christians who hear a homosexual use religious piety as a way of getting votes. It's like, dude, you're really going to pull for the Christian vote now, being gay? Seriously? So that's a little weird that he did that. And I think that's one of his, Buttigieg's biggest liabilities, that and he's a corporatist. But being gay and using God, it doesn't work with people. It snubs their religion into the ground. They just go, what the heck is this guy thinking? You know?
Oh, interesting. Thank you, 191. Well, okay. Yeah.
Oh, we don't allow this kind of thing to linger in the room. That's a kickable offense. I just erase it from the chat board. Anything so disparaging. Justin Trudeau won the blackface, won after doing a blackface. He won re-election in Canada. Blackface is for religious and freedom of speech, actually, blackface is. It's not a racist per se act. It could be discerned as satire, in my case. I think in Justin Trudeau's case, he just did it because it was part of a party theme. Even Joy Behar has done an African-American woman. And she did it as part of a party theme.
You got your dinner?
Yes, I did. I finished all of it. Thank you.
Good. Okay.
Make yourself another lunch for tomorrow out of that lasagna.
Okay.
Feel free. Thank you so much for helping. So I see it as pure freedom of speech. That's what I defend it by. But I don't like seeing that crap in the room. You know. It's all in how you interpret the Bible, and many people who are Bible-centered interpret it differently. No, I mean, there's many number of different standard variations on what laying with the same sex is referenced to in the Bible, but we're not here to talk about religion. I would have even brought it up if gays weren't being pushed so hard on our society. You know, if this New World Order impression of forcing transgenderism on us through this cultic mentality of forced political correctness, it goes against the free speech guaranteed under our First Amendment. So it's a class, basically a New World Order effort to push us toward transgenderism is a violation of our free speech at all levels. We all have the right to pursue our freedom of speech. And if we want to say that, hey, we like gays or we don't like gays, we're allowed to say that. That's protected. Whereas political correctness is a group-think mentality, which has no precedent in our Constitution whatsoever. And it's being used and hijacked by a New World Order authority trying to push their agenda of transgenderism or bisexuality or homosexuality. And for whatever reason, the numbers of heterosexuals relative to homosexuals is still 90% to 10%. It's kind of a standard throughout history. But they're trying to manipulate that standard and using the media, using propaganda, and using a variety of other techniques like pushing genetically modified soy in our diet. Well, there's a conspiracy theory that they're trying to actually create homosexuals, especially with men, who simply don't want to replicate. They just want to continue their life as gay men and, have gay sex. So there's a lot of strong evidence that that's a plan put in play, and they're purposely trying to depopulate our world. I'm glad people are having children. I even welcome the idea of a normal pathway of immigration, because I think our country's being built on immigration, frankly. If it was just left to average people having children and replicating, we would have a negative growth rate. But we're in the positive territory with a positive 5%. which is okay, and our country could probably assimilate another 200 million people comfortably. But we have to improve our distribution pathways. Clearly, we're not offering people a home. We're not offering people a low-cost residence. We're not offering people low-cost energy, low-cost water. We're charging more and more. So there's something wrong with the two-party system that's leading to that. They're supporting the very oligarchy that's profiting from water and power. Whereas a third party would be a vocal piece for America, a way Americans can get fair value from all their utilities and make sure that home ownership is a big part of our thrust. You know, we talk about building houses with our homestead renewal plan, and we're not really grasping at straws. There's already a program in place right now called the Home Program, which guarantees, we'll have at least $4 billion to play with, maybe even more. But nobody, not Obama, not Trump, nobody's taken on this home plan and used it as a way to actually flip houses. And that's what exactly the homestead renewal plan will do. And will offer a rooftop revolution of people having an opportunity to have a solar rooftop courtesy of Uncle Sam. And we'll actually profit long-term from the energy that it produces, and so will you, the homeowner. Now, the more I talk about these stories, the more I get dropped, and how we're willing to come up with great ideas for this country. It's interesting. Yeah, I say I dislike Trump supporters and liberals just as much. And you can't use that word here. That's a bannable offense. Yeah, I'm so sorry you lost your count on that. Yeah, you should have known that. Hackers sent videos and images of flashing strobe lights to thousands of Twitter followers. Okay. Epilepsy Foundation last month is under cyber attack, folks. People who have epilepsy are being triggered. Wow. Okay, I'll be nice and unban you this one time, but don't ever do that again. Hey, Spade. Yeah. Yeah, that's nothing. That's a bannable offense. Just merely mentioning what you just did. You've considered becoming Byzantine Catholic? You're choosing not to go Rosicrucian or Jesuit? Really? I don't know anything about that. I never really got involved with the Catholic Church except to be baptized by it and indoctrinated slightly when I was a kid. No more than Barack Obama and his madrasa experience, where he became a Muslim. Well, if you know who did that, all I can say is you need to contact the FBI or the people you're with and say, hey, something's going on here within your organization where hackers are causing and triggering epilepsy. That's horrible. They're hitting people with strobe lights who have epilepsy. They've got it in their medical records. This is crazy. Okay, the 1% is trying to turn us all into mindless serfs to serve them in their lifestyles. They fly around in private jets on decadent vacations while we, struggle for enough money to buy a green taco at our local taqueria. I hear you, man. Oh, I know. The rich people, man, they have so much money. And there's no money among people. It's almost like we're becoming like Mexico, where people accept their plight in life, It's like, oh yeah, I was like, but in a way I see this as a hopeful future for America. Home ownership, low cost electricity and water. I can see that as a future for all of us. Whereas some people might want to become rich and live in the nicest houses. Anybody with a roof over their head will still know that they at least have that. And that's what I'm shooting for, because right now what we're getting with the two-party system is missing the mark. I hope it is a brighter future. But what we're getting right now with the two parties is a failure to do any of the things I'm talking about. It's too bad, man. Yeah, they don't care about the average person either. It's they're giving globalists, New World Order globalists, shills like this woman, free airtime. We give nothing to the American people. She got way more airtime than she deserved reading off of a script that George Soros put in front of her face. It's pathetic. And it's ironic, too, because our country really needs vocal people among the people, not people like Trump, who simply represent the elites, but average people getting a chance to get involved with government. Many of us were given our government civics course in 4th grade, and then we did one in 7th grade. But we didn't really go that deep into what it takes to get people on the ballot, what it takes to get a political movement going. We've been kind of herded into 2 categories, this stall versus that stall. Right. Left versus right. But I agree with the Republicans in many ways that Joe Biden is corrupt. The Soros and Biden connection is very strong. Adam Schiff is a relative of Joe Biden, of George Soros. Adam Schiff is George Soros's, I believe, son-in-law. Yep. Yep. That's right. This was a common picture last week. We talked about this connection. But then I made a good point that George Soros is a good friend of Donald Trump, too. Let's not forget that. Yep, meet the family. Adam Schiff and his sister, Melissa, married Robert Soros. And Soros did donate to Adam Schiff's campaign. But so did Trump. I mean, Trump is part of George Soros' friendship ring. He's a good friend of his. All right, we're done with that story. And didn't really know what this story was about earlier. I'll touch on it. A little orphan tranny and winemakers serve unorthodox holiday cheer. I don't know what this is. It's as the curtain rises on gold dust orphans, the disembodied voice of Ryan Landry describes what we were about to see as juvenile, nonsensical filth. And in fact, the orphans grow ever more sophisticated without losing their anarchic edge. They are also beyond inclusive, folding into this holiday spectacular loosely based on the musical Annie, not only the gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and straight communities, but also Whitey Bulger, Whitney Houston, and Sarah Palin, Donald Trump, and the eccentric denizens of Grey Gardens. Again, we're seeing this transgenderism pushed upon us. So what better than to take a look at who's doing it? Then the Tavistock Institute out of Frankfurt, Germany, which still runs propaganda efforts to control the mindset of the American people. It turns out that they've been pushing a transgender directive in your identity clinic. These are the people that are paying for the careers of various stars to push transgenderism on us. And they make about $7 billion a year from our government. The NSA pays them and MI5 pays them in England as well. What they've been doing for almost 3 or 4 decades is molding the media. They were behind the original Beatles and how they developed. They were part of the original origin of the Beatles. Being they were in Frankfurt, very close to Hamburg, where the Beatles played, they created the Beatles. They put programming, mind control. And I can tell you that most of the Beatles' music has every bit of the mind control that they needed to control the dialogue of the Vietnam era. The baby boomers went from idealists to drug addicts, courtesy of the Beatles. Just saying. And this is not something I came up with. Many other people have talked about this in the past. The Tavistock Agenda. That was one particular video, but I have another one that more typically discusses it.
One of the things you talked to me about the other day was the Beatles. Well, the Beatles were the creation of the Tavistock Institute. And you know, you have to go back to the college days on the writings of Aristotle. And I made a note this morning before I came on this program of what he said about music and its influence on politics. He said, emotions of any kind are produced by melody and rhythm. Therefore, by music, a man becomes accustomed to feeling the right emotions. Music has the power to form character, and the various kinds of music based on the various modes may be distinguished by their effect on character. one example, working in the direction of melancholy, another in the direction of effeminacy, one encouragement, abandonment, another self-control, another enthusiasm, and so on through the...
All right, thank you. And, one of these mind control efforts is to convince everybody that we're, moving toward that. And I think raising people in that mentality is something they want to encourage so that they don't have people having sex. That's the basis of the depopulation move. And I've said this a couple times tonight because I have to reiterate it in order to really emphasize the point. But yeah, they've got one thing on their goal. The goal is to keep people from having sex. Strawberry fields forever, right? Giving up your brain and completely tuning out. In fact, Timothy Leary was famous for his phrase, turn on, tune in, and drop out. And who was Timothy Leary? Well, Timothy Leary was this guy who pretty much was the CIA agent they put in play. He'd worked with the military to install LSD in the culture. And to his dying day, he pretty much worked promoting LSD. And he worked for the CIA. He was part of the CIA's plan. 1967. I'll play a little of that tonight. Timothy Leary. Anyway, it carried on into the 1980s with the group The Grateful Dead. And it turns out that their family members, all of the family members of the Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia's dad, Bob Weir's dad, they were all Nazis. Oh yeah, LSD and all the drugs, MDM, all very bad for your brain. So then the LSD was carried on by the Grateful Dead, and they kept pitching it. And I knew a lot of people who were really quite bright, but completely burned out on Grateful Dead. Drugs, concerts, the whole thing. They used to go to LSD gatherings, dropping LSD at the Grateful Dead concerts. The whole day was just a massive trip. And they eventually fried their brain. So this whole promotion by the Tavistock was an undercurrent designed to turn up the young baby boomers into useless drug addicts. And it worked. You saw in just a few short years the transformation of John Lennon from 1965 to 1969. His facial features almost changed. It was just beyond belief. I mean, John Lennon in the early days was just this young Beatle guy with a short haircut and, had a fun attitude, real upbeat. In just 4 years, he was a burnt-out couch potato, drunk off his ass, drinking on acid, basically. And he used to brag about it. So... John Lennon kind of carried the torch, but then he broke away and became an anti-war activist. So in reaffirmation of John Lennon's true goals, here he was 4 years later. Check this out. The same guy. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing? (1964), nice clean-cut guy, to 1969, burnt-out drug addict. That's how they did it. That's a simple plan. He just modeled. People listened to their music and they fell for the words. They loved it, and the women went all over it because they actually funded some of the women to go screaming at some of those events. Tavistock paid women to do that initially and just start screaming. That was their goal. They just paid these women to start screaming, and then all of a sudden, the hysteria of screaming to see the Beatles was like a thing, and then all the women were doing it. They didn't have to pay anybody anymore. Mind control. Using the feminine psyche to adapt to something, embracing it wholeheartedly and loving the Beatles. And then gradually, as time went on, they actually molded the message around drugs and even Helter Skelter. People are often wondered what the connection between Helter Skelter, the Beatles, and Charles Manson, when he used that word written on the back of the La Bianca home, Helter Skelter, in blood. I've got a person in our show who believes that Charles Manson was a CIA agent who was put out there to create fear so that they could justify an ever bigger prison system. It's an interesting theory. But I mean, I can't go how deep that would go, because I think Charles Manson was more like just an outcome of our prison system to start with. His whole life was just a disaster. So it's hard to say that he was a CIA agent put out to do that, but it's entirely possible. In fact, they got a lot of protection by the music industry, and they had a lot of support within the music industry, but it led to the death of the Sharon Tate and the La Biancas. So all of that was a weird time in our history, but you can see how a lot changed during that time period. Whereas since the 60s to the 70s, it's been kind of a smooth ride. More republicanism, Trump, obviously the leader, who's not exactly a cool guy. He's not exactly a hep person. He's pretty conservative. That's why I said I still think America is still very conservative. Hasn't really loosened up. The 60s didn't really loosen the whole country up that much. Long hair was just a fad, like short is now. It'll come around again, just like tie-dye. Yeah, exactly. But we're kind of reliving the 60s, 70s, the 60s and 70s throughout the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010. Now we're into almost 2020. We're almost in a cyclic thing. Every 20 years, we're going through that same rebellion, conservatism cycle. But it's still moving away from, I'd say it's moving more toward the 60s, because a lot of people now support legalization of marijuana. But still, we haven't seen it. We don't have the political backing to create this movement, it seems, to get that to happen nationwide. So there's a big problem there. That's why I would think a third party would be very beneficial. Well, I'm glad you love your government. That's good. At least you're able to actually acknowledge you have a government. You know, the fruit spray has been running behind. I have been kind of hesitant, because I've had so much of it during the day today. I was overdosing this morning on fruit spray. I kind of wanted to cut it back. Hey, Yoko, how are you? And Yoko Ono played a big part in that. Some people say she was a deep state agent who worked secretly to lure John Lennon in and then brainwash him to do exactly what they wanted him to do. That's very likely. The early days of Yoko Ono and John Lennon seemed almost like John Lennon had gone through a metamorphosis, like a cult-like transference. And to this day, Yoko is still an unusual personality, to say the least, really. You see, she's a very extraordinary performance artist. And when John Lennon first met her, she kind of wowed him with an exhibit that was actually a stairway kind of like to the top of the ceiling, where they have a big ladder they had to go up, and to go all the way to the top of the ceiling and then look up at a little teeny microscope showing something at the very closest with the light shining on it. And it said the word yes. And that changed his perspective on everything. It kind of was a turning point in their life. And the word yes became like a mantra for John. And yes is the answer and all this. And then it changed his perspective entirely. And I think he almost went into a kind of a fugue state, and she took control of his brain. She like switched it on or switched it off. Whether she's a deep state agent or not, she was an extraordinary part of his life, and the reason why he did move back to the Dakota and get killed. Because he could have easily kept with the extradition papers and never fought it. Instead, he came back and it ended up killing him. So, poor guy. But he died a very young man, 1980. Only 40 years old, I believe. So in Japanese, Yoko means side. Interesting. Well, there's arguments that Yoko is a paganist and has this dark religion that she believes in and all this. And that's just a conspiracy theory that's been pushed out there for everyone to hear. But John adored her for a lot of reasons. It took him away from the violent self that he once lived. John Lennon was during his youth, he was kind of a hoodlum in the streets of Hamburg. He and the original Paul McCartney. And I say the original Paul McCartney because, Paul McCartney probably died before, right around 1966, they say. Well, his face changed. Forensic scientists analyzed his face and found that the current guy is not Paul McCartney, the original. He has a 66% match. One of the last performances of the Beatles was on a rooftop in New York City. And these guys were extraordinary. What happened was in 1966, November 9th, Paul McCartney allegedly died in a car accident that was so devastating to the group that they had a second impersonator named Billy Shears Campbell, who was he was chosen to do that, to replace Paul McCartney. And Billy Shears Campbell was a studio musician. His father was a studio musician. They came originally from Louisiana, believe it or not, but they worked the circuit of studio musicians. And Billy Shears became a very talented Paul McCartney impersonator and won a contest in March of that year that Paul died. So the question is, why were these people investigating, or why were these people trying to get a replacement for Paul? A contest that they publicly advertised. Even I saw the ad in 1965, 66. They were looking for a Paul McCartney replacement. This guy passed the muster, and he came up, passed the muster rather, and came up as the best impersonator they could do, and he does a really good job. But even to this day, the guy that we know as Paul McCartney will not take a palimony blood test. He's refused. He won't check his DNA against the original or any of the lines of the original family of Paul McCartney. So it's very suspicious that he won't talk about it. Of course, Heather Mills divorced him, claiming that they had such a big, huge argument that she felt totally betrayed, and it wasn't infidelity. She said that publicly, but then she settled out of court and never said a thing about him not being who he is. But it's pretty obvious this guy could very well be the real deal. I mean, a real imposter, I should say. Trying to pull it up. There it is. So take a look at their face before and after 66. And you see these guys performing publicly on a rooftop in 1969 after years of silence. They didn't go on public tours at all. Shea Stadium was one of their last public tours after 66. But you can see their face is just not a match. But here he is with one of the only live performances after 66 seen publicly with the Beatles. This guy who impersonated Paul McCartney, we'll call him Fall McCartney, singing publicly in front of everybody. You know, lots of close-ups. And a really good performer. Really good. He's a little bit taller than the other one, but incredibly talented. And I got to tell you, I think he did a great job. Without the new guy, I don't think they would have even taken off as well as they did. So I think whatever happened, happened for a reason. I don't condemn him for having impersonated Paul, nor do I condemn anybody, believing that this is not true, that in no way did they replace Paul McCartney. But yeah, I think we could very likely say it was the best thing that could have happened. Because they say that there were so many women that were in love with Paul that that would have been so crushing they probably would have killed themselves. It was that sad. Had they known that he had died, beheading or something. So we got a pretty slow chat going for some reason. Maybe Vaughn was censored for some reason. You guys are probably having a problem getting in. No, I have no. I've never felt love for a man other than my father. Fatherly son love. So I'm not sure what you're saying. Was I in love with Paul? I think the current Paul is great. I think he's done a great job, and I don't condemn him for what he's done. I actually see him as a big upgrade because they got a guy who could play 12 instruments versus the original Paul who was self-taught on 3. And the current Paul is classically trained on 12. So it's like phenomenal. This guy's musical abilities and mimic abilities surpassed anything Paul could have done. But the original Paul's movements are well documented. He had more of a physical presence on the stage than the current Paul. It's one of the reasons why the Beatles became so popular during that time period, because he was such a strong, bold part of that group, the original Paul. Amazon blocks sellers from using FedEx Ground for Prime shipments. Okay, this is interesting. Amazon's starting to move on a plan to actually control the market. I think they're opening up their own planes. Huh. So Amazon sellers cannot use FedEx now. I'll be darned. They can't use FedEx Ground. It's probably because it's their primary competitor now. It's blocking its third-party sellers from using FedEx Corp's ground delivery network for Prime shipments, citing a decline in performance handling in the final stretch of the holiday season. I don't know. I think they're getting ready for their own line of... they've got a few jets now. They're going to be moving their own product. Amazon's more of a predator than anything. Samsung might be getting help from LG on the batteries coming up for the Galaxy S11. Remember the Galaxy 10 had so many problems that, so they're going to LG for some of the battery components. That's interesting. I'm just kind of checking out the news. Sorry, I'm taking you on a side trip here. Supreme Court ruled that they're not going to rule on a circuit court judge position that the public can use. Housing is basically anywhere somebody pitches a tent. Let's take a look at this story. Amazon offered you a job and you declined it? Yeah, I heard what they do to the workforce is pretty bad, Sensei What? Good point. So the Supreme Court leaves cities with only one option on homelessness: build more housing, because people can legally use the public for a tent. They just decided against hearing an appeal of the landmark case of City of Boise versus Martin, letting stand a ruling that amounts to a broad curb on police powers in California and 8 other states to stop people from sleeping on public property if no other shelter is available. So yeah, I think it's a perfectly good thing that the Supreme Court did in this instance. I'm a little bit weirded out by the fact that Ruth Bader Ginsburg refused to allow the reading of Donald Trump's tax returns by the House Ways and Means Committee, which is completely in her latter years, act strangely in support of the Republicans. Yeah, it's the strangest thing. And now it won't be till June that we'll get a chance to look at Donald Trump's tax returns. Makes no sense at all why she would hold up one of the most important facets of this impeachment hearing, which would reveal a tremendous amount. I don't know what's going on in her head, but maybe it's some life-saving medication they're offering her for her lung cancer, and if she doesn't do what they tell her, they won't give her the injections. I don't know. I mean, it looks to me like she's desperate. But to stop the entire investigation in its tracks, stopping any access to Donald Trump's tax returns, is a classic sign of the deep state protecting Donald Trump. No question about it. Yeah, so it was no job. You were offered a job interview? Oh, I know. I'm so sorry you lost that. So we could talk about the recent allegations that Adam Lanza may very well be Peter Lanza. People are looking at this photo more and more and analyzing this history of this shooter and wondering whatever happened to Peter Lanza and how come his son, or his brother rather, was so infamously targeted as the shooter. Many people are beginning to wonder if this isn't the same person. But many other questions, what's that all about? It does look like he is playing the role of Alex Jones, because they're shocked that more people aren't. And he had a completely different face. That was the original Alex Jones in the early days. Who cares about Fuzzy Zeller? Who cares? And now the new Alex Jones is more, kind of in your face, forcing you to like listen to his BS, and he's willing to put himself through all kinds of caricatures. It's like he's taken the whole story of InfoWars and turned it into a cartoon act, like this. So if only we had the original Alex Jones. Instead, we've got the cartoon act. Strange, huh? His ears don't match. You're right. His headphones don't match. His tinfoil hat doesn't match. You're not going to believe this, but there's an impersonator impersonating the impersonator of Alex Jones. His name is David Sponheim. You wonder, well, wait a second. How come you look more like the original Alex Jones, David, than Alex Jones? And what happened to this original guy, What happened to that guy? Where did he go? Well, I can tell you, I was doing radio in 1997. At the same time this guy was doing radio. He was in Austin, Texas, and I was up here in the Washington State area. But I mean, if I'm 6'4", but if I were 6 foot or 5'9", I'd probably pass for this guy. You're not going to believe this, but the New World Order has taken over, and it will ultimately be ruling over the entire population of human beings, turning us all into living zombies being sent to the FEMA camps. I know that sounds hard to believe, but, so I mean, it's kind of amazing how that guy became the Alex Jones. Heck, I would have made a better Alex Jones. And he's 6'1", Bill Hicks is. I'm 6'4", so he would have to stand on a chair to be 5'9". That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, he's 6'1", Bill Hicks is. So if Alex Jones is 6 feet, if someone were to take a measurement right now and measure his height, if he's 6 feet, he's not Alex Jones. Because the real Alex Jones is 5'9", or was, because I don't know what happened to him. Tornadoes reported in Louisiana, damaging homes, church, and at least one dead. Wow. Tornado. So Harvey Weinstein is gloating. I deserve a pat on the back when it comes to women. Now, 50 women have allegedly been raped by this guy. The alleged victims quickly condemn Harvey over the new interview that he just had, where he claims, he deserves a pat on the back. Or maybe a reach around, huh, Harvey? I didn't forget Larry Sinclair. I played him earlier. If you'd like, we can go directly to the Larry Sinclair room, where we can give you a blow-by-blow description of what he did in that limousine with Barack Obama. Let's take a look at Larry Sinclair 2009 interview, or 2010 press conference.
Returned a short while later with an 8-ball of cocaine, which he gave to me, where Senator Obama exited the limousine with $250, which was provided to him by me. Returned a short while later with an 8-ball of cocaine from his pocket. Obama then smoked the crack cocaine. I performed fellatio on Senator Obama in the limousine during the time Senator Obama was smoking crack cocaine, after which I had the driver take me to my hotel, the Comfort Suites, Gurnee, Illinois.
Thanks for that important tidbit of information, Howie. I appreciate that. I mean, who wouldn't want to watch that every night from every single show over the past 2 years? Or shall we say 3 years now? Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to see that every night? I see your point, man. Yeah, Anita's been blacklisted. She can't even go on her Twitter account anymore.
Okay, this just in from Morpheus. You are the one, Neo.
Seattle police under investigation after a viral video shows clash between officers and protesters. Let's take a look.
And protesters is under investigation.
The Office of Police Accountability is looking into the case after the clash at a pro-Trump rally Saturday. And Q13 Simon Del Rosario has been looking into that video and, of course, the investigation.
Right, so it's a pro-Trump rally on Saturday. Counter-protesters also showed up. Police were out in full force. Let's go ahead and get you right to that video so you can see what's going on here. Throws down his bike, appears to trip over it, and then goes on to say this person is under arrest. His friend to the left ends up getting flipped there on the left side of your screen. So this is the confrontation that is now under investigation. We can go ahead and replay that video, show it to you again. This video, it's gone viral on Twitter. It has more than 2.5 million views. The person who posted it said it was appalling and said the officer violently attacked and arrested the protester. Now, the Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best told our Brandy Cruz she saw the...
Yeah, he immediately slowed down and proceeded to, after he tripped, see how he tripped over the bike? He was like walking forward and he tripped over the fallen bike.
Protester and the Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best.
And then he started to just pick on this guy right there. Look at this. Physically grabbing him and just moving him around and then harassing him. This is not appropriate. And they're just going, man, I'm just cool, man. It's just cool. I'm standing here, man. I'm not hurting anybody. Yeah, they have some crazy quotas. No, it's so hard to become a police officer in Seattle because everyone wants to leave the job. So the ones that are doing this are like totally yes men that have to fall in line. Otherwise they get, if they don't do what they're told. But a lot of the people in Seattle itself are worried that these people are being kicked out and then kicked back into the street. They take them off the street one day and they put them right back on the next day. So a lot of police officers are frustrated. They don't even want to do this anymore. And they know they're hated so much by the local police, the local people. Because Seattle is such a liberal area that the police realize that they're hated by everybody. So it's a kind of a tough job. So they're probably getting the worst possible people in the force. The police farce. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I'll put that in my lineup tonight. That's all, folks. So we got another hour of discussion tonight in the evening. I don't know what to talk about, but, because it's not much in the news except for the impeachment process. Right now, according to Fox News, the views on the impeachment are steady. It's at 50-50. But Trump's job approval has been ticking up. So it's like, well, anybody can buy an approval rating at any, media giant pollster. Gallup, I understand, is for sale. Family of slain Barnard student says NYPD union boss blamed victim. For her own murder. Oh my gosh. So instead of the family being, talked to and I'm so sorry for your loss, the NYPD union boss blamed the victim for her own murder. Oh my gosh. The sergeant of the Benevolent Association chief, Ed Mullins, said that Tessa Majors was buying pot in the park when she was attacked. Well, that's sad. What a tragic loss of life. Oh, that's so sad. Tessa Majors. The family ripped a New York City police union official for declaring on a radio show that she was in the park to buy marijuana when she was killed. The remarks by Sergeant Ed Mullins we find deeply inappropriate, as they intentionally or unintentionally direct blame onto Tess, a young woman, for her own murder. Tess Majors' family said that we would ask Mr. Mullins not to engage in such irresponsible public speculation, just as the NYPD asked our family not to comment as it conducts the investigation. Wow. And they even divulged this information, whether it's true or not, as an excuse. Investigators have not divulged what the 18-year-old student was doing in Morningside Park when she was stabbed to death last Wednesday. Wow. Well, why would she be buying? It doesn't New York have recreational marijuana stores now? I mean, this makes no sense. Or have they not implemented them? Had they implemented them, that would have been no problem. I blame Andrew Cuomo for holding back legalized marijuana in New York State for her death. Yeah. Wow. The torture must stop now. A group of more than 100 doctors warned Julian Assange could die in jail and urged Australia to bring him home. No kidding. They're torturing Julian Assange in jail. No kidding. Wow. He faces 18 charges in the U.S. and will face extradition, but more than 100 doctors have urged Australia to return him home for urgent medical treatment. The group has written an open letter to Foreign Minister Maurice Payne. He's made so few pictures revealing his true self that you got to wonder if they're trying to get rid of this guy in jail and have him just die in jail like supposedly Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe he's already dead. Maybe he's already died. We got another video from Scissor Fight here, 153 News tonight. Oh yeah, I heard about this. The Sandy Hook football team won the award on the Sandy Hook anniversary. Yeah, I saw that. It was like a weird play.
Our big story this morning on a day filled with so much sadness.
Okay, we got a big story there. It was very hard to see the pass, the touchdown pass. I noticed that. Very hard to see it. But somebody said the guy caught a touchdown and he won. I don't think it's important to harass Anita here. Rex. She's just trying to keep, her life normalized with her husband. Yeah, harassing her, does that make you feel better, Rex? Hi, Eddie. Eddie over at YouTube. Yeah, we got a couple things tonight. We got the California wildfires discussed again. I'm doing a series of retro shows out of the 1.5. I'm going to be, making some, going to be great. And this one I didn't play last night, or last Saturday, but we'll play that tonight. Oregon harvesting the homeless and seizing their assets. Big heads up, all. Cool. We got some good ones tonight in the Sandy Hook story of the football team that wins. Miraculous weapons, like the ones being sold by Lockheed Martin And they say by 2026 they're going to have a whole line of space-based weapons that could shoot down things. Kind of like the Star Wars defense system of Ronald Reagan. My fellow... But now I can see that Ronald Reagan no longer applies. Russia's already formed an office at the Donald Trump cabinet building. They have their closet that they work out of. Yeah, there's also evidence that Ronald Reagan is working for, that Donald Trump is working for Russia. We talked about that tonight. Kind of crazy. Russia media sees him as a Russian asset. And the Daily Beast had that story earlier today. Let's see if I can pull it up. It's kind of missing here for a second. Yeah. Let me find Daily Beast. Hold, please. Here it is. This is the story that was most important. Let me take a look here and show you. This is from the Daily Beast. Russia State TV calls Trump their agent. Russian commentators note rightly that sooner or later... Oh, no, I can't watch this. Hang on. We now go to alternate screen. Beep. Russian State TV says their agent, and they have a picture of Lavrov with the president right here. Lavrov is the guy who got the Kim Jong-un meetings set up, 3 meetings with the North Korean leader, and nothing was accomplished. We're getting heavy duty drop frames coming out of Twitch right now. We're being DDoSed hard on our site. We're being blocked out. Check this out. Russia State TV uses every opportunity to demoralize the Ukrainians with the talking points based on Trump's distaste for Ukraine. And this too. Yeah, Putin has expressed undisguised delight with the crusade led by Trump and Giuliani to whitewash Moscow's interference in the U.S. elections. They actually refer to him as an agent in the news article. The Russian news article titled Rossiya 1 aired a segment entitled Puppet Master and Agent. How to understand Lavrov's meeting with Trump. Puppet Master and Agent. Look at this. And this is how the Russian TV channels are characterizing Donald Trump's role in America and their control over him. It's a common joke among the Russians that Trump is basically a puppet. They've been saying this in social media for years now, that Trump is, they own Trump. Yes, that's right. Yes, that's right, David.
Yes.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, I'm right. I said yes. Okay, that was Yoko Ono doing a little screaming. Whew. Rex, stop harassing her. You know, the thing is, Rex, you of all people should know that everyone should have the right to blossom in their own way. And she and her husband have found a unique existence together. And I think Anita's lucky to have him. So back off, way off, dude. Hey, there's stories about the Jersey shooting, a new Sandy Hook. Another video from Scissorfight. Yeah. People are questioning the authenticity of these things. You know, when you get somebody, the assailant always kills himself, and there's not a lot of blood of it. or blood evidence. Yeah. Is this a new narrative coming out of the New Jersey event that happened? And by the way, there was an event 1 year earlier at the same location where they did a crisis event publicly. We showed pictures of it the other day in our show. Kind of bloody pictures too. But it was all fake blood from a year earlier. Well, let's be clear. So I'll add that to the list. Goody, goody. So if you're not a harasser, then great. I'm glad you two are getting along well because you're our big chatters tonight. Yeah, celebrity chatters at Vaughn. Aren't you lucky? Mark's doing a pretty good job of keeping all these stories from being seen by people and people interacting. Whenever I talk about the controversies that are obvious in front of us, like the two pictures of Paul, people like, they want to know more, but the trolls, they come in and they try to shut us down. It happens all the time. Yeah. It's the story of a guy named David. But they'd rather talk about Greta time. Yeah, Greta's always a popular person to talk about. We did her death metal rattle last night. There's a video that was done on YouTube called Death Metal. Greta sings Swedish death metal. It's hilarious. If you haven't seen it, it's really funny.
What's your message to world leaders today?
It's pretty intense. I was watching a live leak last night or 2 nights ago of Greta Thunberg doing target practice. Yeah, Swedish target practice. It didn't look to me like she was really the person in the picture. It looked fake to me. Let us take a look at the Swedish. I don't think this is her. It is not playing. Hang on. I want you to decide if this is her when she dismounts the weapon. I'm playing this again, and no, she's not trying to hurt anybody. She's just doing target practicing. That doesn't show much of her. Whoops. Hang on. Yeah. Red. So I don't really know if it was her doing the shooting practice there, but different face and hands. You know, the scissor fight, I think you are right. This is not her. I don't think Greta would ever hold armaments against anyone there. She seemed like such a loving child with anger management that she would never have access to a weapon in Sweden. Someone told me that. So I suggested to the Swedish person who came into our show, I suggested maybe they should impose a law because every Swedish citizen has to go to military training. They should impose a law that they should all carry a handgun, like in Israel, and that any new immigrant wouldn't qualify. And they actually thought it was a good idea, you know, just to deter any dangerous. They make at the Ruger company. Imagine every single Swede buying one. Quick loading, or the anywhere. This thing is designed to literally sit in a ditch filled with water and still pop out and shoot. These Rugers are amazing, and I highly recommend our guns sales could. You know, Howie, your obsession with the MGTOW society has pushed you. Impeachment does go through, and the Democrats turn on him for turning their back on the U.S. foreign policy towards Syria and siding with Russia. Will Donald Trump begin to see his entire support crew collapse from under him?
Well, I've heard Lindsey Graham, who's terrific, and I heard his statement, and I like that. And I'll do whatever I want. Look, an agreement on some concept, I'll do whatever they want to do. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't mind the long process because I'd like to see the whistleblower, who's a fraud. The whistleblower wrote a false report.
Yeah, but Donald, the Republicans have all given. And this is a shocker if you're aware of this, but ironically are getting money from Russia. That's right. Mitch McConnell, Moscow Mitch, is getting money from Russia. Doesn't that sound bizarre? I know. Well, he's gotten up to $3 million from them in the past few years. Moscow Mitch. Dave, don't say that. I don't want anyone to know that I'm receiving money from Len Blavatnik, the Russian oil oligarch. Dave, I don't want to say that. He's such a worm, that guy. He laughed when he blocked everything Barack Obama put together legislation-wise. He laughed. He thought that was funny. But then you got his friend, Lindsey Graham, also on the take with this guy. Dump Trump. Sarah Carter has James Comey. I was wrong. Okay. Check out Len Blavatnik. This is the Russian oil oligarch that works for Oleg Deripaska. The same person who acquired the secret files of Nastya, the woman who incriminated. This is Len Blavatnik, Deripaska's henchman, doing work to buy your politician. Yes, Lindsey Graham. See this? He gets a $3 million for Russia. So the whole thing is completely controlled by Russia. And you stupid Republicans have no idea. You believe everything you're told like idiots because you're all greedy. That's right. Russia realized that by giving you Republicans all this money, they could buy you. Maria Butina could easily get money to Republicans through Gun Association, NRA, and then he'd give Mr. Trump $30 million. You don't even know what you're doing. You think that you are control? Russia owns Mr. Trump. He is agent for Vladimir Putin and Lavrov. You must know this by now, you stupid American retardos. And now we go to our next little dissertation about the general news. Carla Fiorini says it's vital Trump may be impeached, but then doesn't rule out voting for him again. You like the retardos. Yet in Russia, they don't allow retardos in politics. You can't even be transgender and be allowed to live without going to prison in Russia. Carly Fiorini says it's vital Trump be impeached, but doesn't rule out voting for him again. So in other words, Carly, if Trump isn't impeached, you're going to vote for him because you just vote for whoever's in charge or something? Boy, what a corporatist piggish you are. Carly, are you there? Earth to Carly. Well, we're done with that story. This is the inquiry in pictures. Oh, who doesn't want to see this? Yeah, it's like a mindless event. Look at how stupid this is. Oh, where are you getting drinks later in D.C.? Oh, yeah, I know. Let's just hang out. Oh, let's do this. Oh, yeah, we're having fun. Oh, yeah, we're all doing our job. Well, I support Mr. Trump 100%, even though I'm balding and I've been accused of being sexually deviant or allowing a deviant to yeah, this guy's under investigation for allowing a sex predator while he was a teacher at a college. What a total useless Congress. I mean, this is such a joke. And the Republicans were allowed to post these pictures behind Adam Schiff. I can't even believe Adam Schiff didn't say that's illegal use of space behind the cameras. I still can't believe this. And Nadler, oh boy. Go get some lox and bagels. Jerry Nadler running for re-election. Oy vey. Oh, look at this Zionist. This guy just simply does whatever the AIPAC group wants him to do. Donald goes where the money is. And that's where the money is in America. And so does Nancy. She's AIPAC. 100% AIPAC supported. That's why she put together such weak articles of impeachment. I've seen enough. I can't do any more of that. We got to get some music in here. This is insane. Check that out, chat room celebrity. Let's get some music of some sort. I don't care what. As long as it's copyright free, created by me in my mind. Okay, someday you'll find the person that blows your mind. Ladies, good luck. Many of you gays are looking for that person as well. I don't really care. As long as you learn that love is one of the key components to life. That's really one of the messages I think we have to look at. And I don't mean weird, perverted sex. I mean love. Love is what really is the binding ingredient in life that makes it all worthwhile. And I urge a lot of you young people to stay positive, stay optimistic about finding the right one. I know some of you reached the bottom of the barrel and wondering, gee, is this as low as it gets? You haven't had a relationship. That's not uncommon now. Our society has become so disjointed that, you know, there's so many diversions. It's so easy to not have a relationship with anyone. But secretly, we all want that. Secretly, well, maybe you've become in love with pot. Sure, there you go. The love of pot. That's become the replacement for sex for you. Sure, whatever. It could be Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Whatever. But will you also suffer from deadbeat-itis instead of diabetes? And the question is really irrelevant. You don't judge yourself by what others see you as. Just try to appreciate life in a way that your senses can fill that void. Now, if you can find love, great. If you can't, love of beauty, love of nature, whatever. But love really is an ingredient in life that makes everything kind of meaningful. Just so you know. It's one of the secret ingredients. Okay. Now, according to this article, and it's very defamatory toward our president, but Trump's dick reportedly looks like a toad. This is coming from Stormy Daniels, I believe. Okay. We're getting major DDoS action at Twitch right now. Boy, you guys are getting hosed over there. The Guardian obtained a copy of the book from Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, revealed that the adult film star could describe the president's genitalia in great detail. Well, you know, considering Trump paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 in hush money and $150,000 to National Enquirer to bag a story by Karen McDougal, both of them allegedly had an affair with Donald Trump while he fathered a child, Barron, and his wife, Melania, who he lovingly calls It, didn't seem to even get told about this. So I'm wondering, how long is Melania going to stand there and ignore the fact that her husband's an adulterer and not say anything? Well, her contract is due to be reinstated this year, so I guess there's going to have a financial agreement. They're going to have to somehow pay her to keep quiet. Otherwise, I'd be pissed off if if she were truly upset about his fornication outside of the marriage. You'd think she'd say something. What do you think, Jim? Well, Jim, I got to tell you, aside from the fact that, everybody's dealing with male pattern baldness. Jim Jordan, everybody. Yeah, everybody's got male pattern at our age, but melania is, in my opinion, the least of Trump's problems. But the Democrats have put together such a weak force of candidates, Jim, that you're absolutely right. I completely agree with your theory that Trump could win this election based on the fact that the impeachment was pretty gutless. I would have gone after Russian collusion and cheating in the election, along with other impeachment articles. But whatever they did produce is pretty piss poor, if you ask me, Jim. You Republicans have just as strong a case because the Democrats can't seem to defeat you. Yeah, so I'm actually even Steven on this, whether it goes either way. I expected much more out of the Democrats, but didn't see it. And no, they don't really have a candidate other than Biden who could even begin to hold a candle to Donald Trump's mouth. However, could do Donald Trump back at Donald Trump. Russia, if you're listening, stop investigating Donald Trump and release him from bondage and servitude. See, Russia controls Trump. I can pretty much make a statement, validate it, even if they can't impeach it. I definitely can make that one of my strong points against him in 2020. Whereas I don't think Pete Buttigieg is possibly going to be able to do it. He doesn't have the bite in his vitriol. He doesn't attack with enough vernacular. He doesn't use the Brooklyn style of attack with no remorse like Donald Trump does. You got to learn that in New York. You got to hang around people like Rudy Giuliani and talk for hours back and forth, defeating each other in arguments to understand how they do it. Buttigieg is too weak. He can't handle that. He looks like a mamby-pamby mommy's boy / girly man who can't possibly put up a good offense against Donald Trump. So I think Buttigieg would probably give the Democrats a guaranteed loss. Thank you so much for coming in, Jim. And by the way, I think you did a better job than Devin Nunes. You came off more credible than Devin Nunes did in that effort. Just to be fair. I don't think we can support a guy who's already cheated in the election. No. And a man who lies incessantly. You see, Donald Trump is a divider, not a uniter, Jim. And therein lies your problem. You Republicans have picked a divider, not a uniter. Now, all it's going to take is a good, strong centrist showing here in this upcoming election to really push both parties aside and realize that the pathway to unite the country is through the center and through a person who's willing to talk about both sides openly and give and take. I have to. It's my job as a free speech gives me this right. I have to do it in order to make sure that Donald Trump is exactly what I say he is. Yeah, his entire approach has been one of caving in to the Russians who tell him what to do. Yeah. Unfortunately, the history will not read like William Barr is suggesting, that Donald Trump did nothing wrong in the election. And Donald Trump is on record saying he didn't do anything and the Russians didn't win with any extra special edge and he didn't know about it. And the fact is, we know that he did. And Barr is trying to erase the truth. He's smearing the Russian investigation and covering up Trump's guilt. It's not going to fly. Barr decreed that Trump wouldn't be prosecuted, not that Mueller wanted that. Mueller never exonerated Donald Trump. And there's more than enough evidence that's been suppressed. William Barr shut the door on the Paul Manafort second trial, which would have shown a direct result, would have been Donald Trump got most of his money from Russian oligarchs to keep his business afloat early on. Trump is denying it, but the facts say that his tweet that Trump did, Trump said, I had nothing to do with Russia helping me get elected. In other words, the Kremlin tried to help him. The Kremlin tried to help me win, but I didn't coordinate with them. These are direct quote. This is a direct quote from Donald Trump in a tweet just a few hours ago. I'm not trying to, blow this out of proportion, but when he said the key part here, that he had nothing to do with Russia's helping him get elected. In other words, the Kremlin tried to help me win, but I didn't coordinate with him. And then he's on record saying right afterward this.
Of course I fight back, because...
Completely contradicting that tweet. So he's caught in both lies. He's really trying to dance around the fact that he did get help from Russia and they did cheat.
A false accusation, a totally false accusation, and it's a disgrace. And it's a very sad period for this country. And I think in the end, I will consider what's happening now to be one of my greatest achievements, exposing this corruption.
He's virtually in bed with Russia and has been, and like I told you, Russian media has already, announced that they pretty much brag about it in their news. That this is what they do. They see him as an agent and Lavrov as his handler. But the fact of the matter is, and I'll raise this point again, Jim, Lindsey Graham and both Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are both getting money from Len Blavatnik, an associate of Igor Deripaska. The two key members in your Senate who will make those decisions about the fate of our country are receiving money from Russia. You cannot ignore that fact, Jim. And the fact is, once this gets out of the into the mainstream media, once this story gets out there, those two men are going to have to side with the Democrats and probably do a secret ballot. So if the impeachment clears the House, which it should, we're then looking at these two men being exposed publicly, and then the secret ballot issue coming up, and then there's a lot of people that believe they're really willing to turn on Donald Trump because he's taking the Republicans down a toilet bowl. They're now seen as racists, white supremacists because of Donald Trump. They're now no longer fiscal conservatives among you. Even Rand Paul seems a little bit, siding with Trump now. It seems like the Tea Party's dead in your party, and it looks to me like everybody just wants to cling to power. Now, as much as I'd love to think that you're independent, objective, you don't seem to be. You seem like a person who wants to cling to power, and therein lies the problem. These two guys, the keys in your Senate decision about the future of our country, once they're fully exposed, your little aspect of impeachment will fall by the wayside. And once we see Donald Trump's tax returns, regardless of the impeachment decision in the Senate, I'm pretty sure that Donald Trump will be forced to resign. It'll be imminent that everything he does will look like a Russian collaboration. So I think you have to start rethinking your strategy here. You're not winning, you're actually being exposed in the process. It might be an electoral college landslide, though, I'll give you that, if the Democrats are stupid enough to pick Pete Buttigieg as their candidate. So I'll give you that, Jim. Yeah, Donald Trump would probably win in a landslide electoral college vote if it was Donald Trump versus Pete Buttigieg. And everybody's asking, who's the catcher and who's the pitcher in that relationship? And I'm not really sure who it is. The first lady, the first gay lady, the first male lady. I mean, we're all waiting to find out who's really the catcher and the pitcher in this relationship. Dennis Leary sings. Oh yeah, I don't like that guy. He sucks. I'm sorry you do. Okay, thank you so much for sharing all your special thoughts though, Jim. You put up a good fight though. I appreciate the fact that, you defended the president in that respect. He needed a good defense. But everything points to him working with Russia for the past 15 to 20 years, getting a big jump start in his career. And now he owes them big time. That's the take I get, and I don't see how you could take it any other way. It'd be foolish to think otherwise. And the fact that you people just cling to power is really pathetic. Really is. Hey, the Boeing 737 has taken my advice, and they're halting production of the 737 MAX. I'm so glad. Yeah, I mean, you look at this thing and you're going, how the hell did this plane ever learn how to fly? The Boeing 737 originally was the best plane out there. It had some of the best design features any plane could possibly have. It was the mainstay of almost every airline in the country and was a solid performer through and through, the 737. But there's an important point of note, point of reference. The 737 had the jets directly under the wings in the early days. Let's see if I can pull one up. Here we go. You see how that's structured right there? See how the kind of stubby and the jet's right underneath the wing? Right. Well, look at the jets underneath the 737 MAX. And see the difference. Let's see if I can get a good picture of this here. They're way out ahead of the plane. You can see that right there in this picture. They're way out ahead of the plane, the wings. And that creates a top-heavy position of the plane. It becomes much more top-heavy. And just common sense would tell you that changed the force, the center of gravity forward by about 20 feet. So what they were thinking, I'm not really sure when they did that design, but I think it could be a problem long-term. They can correct it using pitch reduction and the MCAS system, but as we've seen, 346 innocent lives have been killed as a result of them thinking that they could correct it in flight. Yeah, you're right. Bengalitis made a good point. David, this is how Japanese was able to conquer the American auto market. Building crap doomed our automakers. Boeing is next. Too bad the military relies on them. So true, man. I hear you. Please, Mr. David is asking Trump-tards to be arrested. No, they have the right to vote. They do. They just, this idea that they should possibly... You really want to play that, Howie? No, I don't want to play that. Hey, Skeet. iVlog has joined us. Skeet has entered the room. Thank you, man. Hanging out. Okay, Javier, I've never been a racist, and I'm going to report you and ban you from the show. Yeah, you're using hate speech against me, so I have no other choice but to ban you from the show. I'm so sorry. I have to report you. I'm going to call this abuse. Claiming I'm a racist, I consider that hate speech. I reported you. Yeah, if you want to call me a racist when I've never done a racist thing in my life, or a racial slur of any kind, I'm going to call you out as a hate speech person. And you've been reported. Good point, Bengalitis. How the internet came to loathe Pete Buttigieg. Oh, yeah. Not only did they not find him attractive, but yeah, that's an important factor. Only his lover would find him attractive. How are the crops hanging this week? They're not doing too well. We had 30% crop loss in the corn alone. You don't want to know. Every year since Obama and Trump, we've had a 2% reduction in agricultural output. Our farmers are being treated like second-class citizens out there. Nobody's standing up for the small farm. I would. And Pete Buttigieg isn't really liked in his South Bend, Indiana community either. They say he falsely represents black communities at his rallies. The people there aren't even really black. I mean, they're black, but they're not really from the community. Yeah, I can't get that link. But last month, after polls showed his vaulting unexpectedly to lead in Iowa, according to that was CNN, by the way. He aired an ad introducing his plan for higher education reform, a proposal to make college tuition free for households earning up to $100,000 a year and reduce it on the sliding scale for those making up to $150,000. And some voices, he says in the ad, want to make college free even for the kids of millionaires, a swipe at his rivals. You know, I don't think making college free teaches fiscal integrity and responsibility. I think making college free is a terrible slam in the face of those people that didn't take college loans in the past. Yeah. Your wife is getting a degree in agriculture and you're enjoying non-pesticide, non-GMO food. Excellent, Herbal Ascension. Good job, man. Yeah, well, I appreciate you being on the chat room at Vaughn. We have 4 other chat rooms now across the globe. There's YouTube, Twitch, and we have a couple people there. But Twitch is heavily censoring us. And I've got a daily I present the Periscope link every day at Third Party on Twitter. So you can get that too. Undeniable video proves that the Earth is round. Well, this is good. Those flat earthers that the CIA is pitching, trying to push people to believe nonsense, to try to degrade our intelligence.
You've tuned into Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live.
Good. Ron Johnson's going to take on the flat earthers head on. Right on. Excellent. I'll put it in the flat earth category too, pro and con. Undeniable proof the earth is round. Okay. Well, I think we covered all the news stories that we can. Caught up on all the crap we got from Max. He brought in a lot of stuff. Good stuff, but also crappy stuff. You know, who needs lots of stuff per se? I just like to focus on what really happens. Trump is slamming the messenger. He attacked every single person that testified against him, concluding that he had done quid pro quo. Every person he attacked individually on Twitter. But now he's slamming Fox News for in interviewing Comey and Schiff, stating only pro-Trump Fox shows do well on the channel. So in other words, Fox can't even do a good show unless they feature just Trump. In his mind, Trump should be their primary focus and that Sean Hannity should just talk about Trump all day. I mean, can you believe the outright narcissistic ego of this man? Like Fox can't even have a fair and balanced newscast? Not according to Donald Trump. He jabbed at Shepard Smith, who recently left Fox News on a channel with reputation for pushing a conservative or right-wing narrative. Smith was among the few anchors or hosts who offered critical coverage of the Trump administration. Yep, he got kicked out. So in other words, he wants it all his way or the highway. Nobody can criticize him, not even on Fox. You see what we're dealing with? We're dealing with a person no different than Adolf Hitler in almost every way. Now trying to use his rhetoric to push for truth. He's the only person I've ever seen who can defend himself by claiming the reason why he's innocent is because they're investigating him. You have been removed from the show. You are worthless. So it's like, oh, okay. So he's innocent because it's all the witch hunt. Ugh. You see how ridiculous that argument is? Any intelligent person is going to say, this guy's an idiot. And if you haven't said that, you're not intelligent. Everything he says is a contradiction. And we've seen him and caught him in over 13,000 lies in the past 3 years. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Men have named you. Yeah, I'm not pulling it up. Dang. It's almost impossible to find the damn thing. Got to go right back to the source. Whew. It's unbelievable. So let's go to the Donald Trump library and pull up some of the best pictures of Donald Trump as we close in on this amazing fixation our country's had with this person who probably is going to have to resign. This is the new rule. If you can listen to Trump speak without thinking he sounds like an idiot, you're an idiot. Okay? You understand?
Yes. Yes, I'm an idiot, Dave.
Right away.
All right. So you got past that. Now you realize you're an idiot. Now you have to get to the point where you say, well, wait a second. Why were you saying I'm stupid? Because I don't like Bernie Trump, whatever. I don't want Bernie Sanders either. Look what he said. A man goes home and masturbates his typical fantasy. A woman on her knees, a woman tied up, a woman abused. A woman enjoys intercourse with her man as she fantasizes being raped by 3 men simultaneously. I don't want this guy as our president either. And then I look at Joe Biden and I'm going, wait a second, that's not good either. Yeah. Joe Biden's looks weird. He looks like he needs some sort of a head mask to cover himself in case he doesn't, like a dog walking around kissing people. This would be a great way to, keep him from actually touching the people or the children. Yeah. A little head mask. But the thing about Trump is he really garnishes a true appreciation for our country when he talked about grabbing women by the pussy in United States of America. I mean, is he suffering from Down syndrome or what? Is that the problem here? Because this is exactly what I was thinking about. He resembles a lot of young kids, and I'm not trying to make fun of them, but they are limited in their ability to understand things. And there is a real good explanation as to why he has like a 4th grade education reading level. Because he looks like a Down syndrome kid. Yeah. Just saying. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. Men have named you. I mean, some people are so frustrated they'd vote for Bagface for president. It's like, okay, if Bagface was on there, we would vote for him. I don't think he washes his hands, no. I think it smells mostly of BO and crotch. From walking around grabbing himself by the crotch, and who knows? He should be checked for maybe syphilis or something. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. Men have named you. The unknown candidate, yeah. Well, I am the unknown candidate, in case you didn't know. I've been kept out of most politics in almost every mainstream media sense. So I think that alone qualifies me as the unknown candidate. But anybody can, be the Donald. Can you be the Donald? It doesn't take a lot to look like a human sphincter. Oh, David. I think you're very right, David. I should learn from you how to speak about America and Russia. If you're listening, I would like you to censor David Sponheim and his show. I don't want him to get the word out, because if he does, the American people might know about my connection to Russia. Yeah. It's unbelievable. So he can still hang out with his lovely wife, Melania, and they can hang out in their BDSM world where Attila the Trump and his assistant can live in the White House for the next few months until we see his IRS forms. And once we see those IRS forms, we'll know why he's been trying to hide them for the past 3.5 years. Thank you very much. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But then again, there's always the possibility that Hillary Clinton might join the race. And I understand her new facial reconstructive surgery has come out, so she will look a lot like Donald Trump. The new Hillary is going to be a real eye-opener for some of you. Of course, she was cloned. We know that. But the next Hillary will be a lot more like Trump. He'll be, what difference at this point does it make? What difference at this point does it make? Hello, my fellow Americans. I am a morph between Hillary and Bill and Ronald and Donald. And I'm here to share. Yeah, Trump probably has VD. Yeah, I don't think they ever gave him one of those Q-tip tests, you know. You wouldn't know about that, nor would I. I've never had venereal disease. Hey, climate change hypocrites eat meat, fly jets, and live lavish lifestyles, and you believe them. That's a good one too, man. Thank you, Sister
Hi,
Fight.
everybody. It is still December 15, 2019.
That never lose truth. We've got her in the evening. You are sick, sir. Diesel polluting scumbag. Get out of my room. The guy brags about blowing smoke in people's faces when he parks in front of markets and just blows the diesel fumes into the market. And he brags about it. He comes in here and brags about it. Yeah, Donald has to clap so many times, it's more than like an applause. That's funny. Slow Modes came up with a funny one. We normally don't rely on you for funny jokes, but that's a good one. Okay, Rusty Shackelford is out there in the news again. You wonder. Yeah, look at that. It's a close-up of Hillary's face, and you wonder if this woman took some of the money from the Haitians Hurricane Fund to have plastic surgery on her face. Look at that, folks. No, that's actually an impersonator who does Hillary Clinton very well. I mean, she's a Hillary Clinton impersonation person. Yeah. The woman on the right is the newer version. She'll probably be the one to run. But she's changed she's changed her entire physical appearance to look more like a dude. That's what I've been told. Dude looks like a lady. Now, David, you know that I'm capable of doing anything. What difference at this point does it make? If I become a transgender, what difference at this point does it make? So maybe she will run as a dude. You never know. Yeah, I'm a dude. She's a woman. Yeah, there's two different types of people here. One's a dude and one's a woman. No, that's not true, Howie. That's a complete urban myth. Dave, birds stop migrating. I watched a bird try to fly through snow last year, and this year I'm seeing really confused birds just stay in uncomfortable weather looking confused. You're right. The willful attempt to destroy the atmosphere with chemtrails has been going on for some time. And tomorrow on Truth Tuesday, we'll be talking about that, up close and personal. As you know, I'm a strong advocate of no chemtrails. I also want to innovate and do air filtration in America. And I want to offer water filtration solutions for cities like Flint, Michigan. And individuals too. Point of use filtration. So I come to the table with a lot of really cool ideas. And tomorrow on Truth Tuesday, we'll talk about more about that. But I enter the race with a green, clean technology platform, whereas the Democrats seem to be lost. They gave up on that when Obama lost so much money on Fisker Motors and Solyndra. So our future really looks positive with a third party, everyone. All right, thank you for coming into the discussion moment, and now we go to the video stage of our show, lasting 3 more hours. All right, thank you so much for coming in and participating. Every day is an endless effort to bring up more and more media and news so that we can talk about it. And I am Mr. Wright signing off. Take care.
Mr. Right, too good. Just spin my world around, 'cause you're the peace I find. If you sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat. 'Cause you make me melt.